Hello and welcome to day 4 of the God is a Geek Game of the Year deliberations. It's an increasingly warm one as we all dress for the winter. And if you're not watching the video, by God, are you missing a treat? Because I'm just going to unzip that now. You see, I think you thought it was to be bare-chested and it was going to be, but that's not going to happen. My name's Adam Cook and I'm joined by Chris Hyde, Chris White, Adam Carroll, Mick Fraser, Lyle Carr. Make some noise, motherfuckers!
Woo, woo, woo.
Yo, yo, yo!
Terrible. Terrible. Day 4 is, unfortunately for those who really want to listen but don't want things spoiled, kind of the spoiler day. We've got this far in the week. It is time. It is time to talk about the best story and the best moment, both of which are narrative related. So, usual house warnings. You might hear clicking on the keyboard. Don't think I've said that this year. I've said it now. Unfortunately, there's things that are going to be spoiled. There's kind of no way of doing this. There's kind of no way of doing this without spoiling it. Before we get cracking, does anyone want to have a guess what won best story last year?
No,
Last of Us.
The Last of
Yeah,
Us
it was
Part
Last of
2.
Us.
Yeah, it was The Last of Us Part 2. Yakuza Like a Dragon, Hades, Spiritfarer, and Cyberpunk 2077 was in there. So there you go. That was actually 5th, but you know, hey, history has proven a lot of people were wrong and stuff. So best story, we've got 21 here to get through. I'm going to just smash through this list and we can get chatting because we appreciate you probably 5-6 hours into this with us and you want us to talk about some stories. That's why they're here, isn't it? That's why we're all here. I'm not stalling. We just you know, go to patreon.com. You would have heard this earlier. I'm not stalling. Tales of Arise, Deathloop, Lost in Random, The Dark Pictures Anthology House of Ashes. It Takes Two, Scarlet Nexus, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin, The Medium, Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, Metroid Dread, Life is Strange True Colors, Halo Infinite, Psychonauts 2, Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1, Far Cry 6, Before Your Eyes, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Returnal, Death's Door, The Forgotten City. 21 must become 5. Pretty quick. Well, it doesn't have to actually be pretty quick, but I mean, what I'm saying is there's some of these can be cut. Listen, some of these, you pick bad games, some of you. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Nice. Can't have been talking to me.
No, not Lyle. How? I mean, do you know what? The gunk's nearly on here, but we had enough on this list, so yeah. What are we going to cut then? What do people look down there and straight away go, what?
I think
Nick, you're not allowed to say all of them.
Maybe.
Go on, Lyle.
Should we start with maybe Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart? Is that exciting? That high up? Is it going to make a top 5?
I'm struggling to remember what the story was about, and I 100%ed that game for guides duty. I feel like it was about Rivet, but I can't remember the actual story. Isn't it just Ratchet and Clank story, like the usual?
It's the alternate dimension, isn't it? And trying to save against 2 versions of the bad hero. I can't remember his name.
Nefarious.
That's it, Doctor. Yeah.
And Dr. Nefarious, the villain in Minions and Despicable Me, or like not his.
Never seen it.
Gru's sidekick, the scientist,
It's
voiced by Russell Brand.
Isn't it Dr. Lefario or Nefario?
That's damn
Nefario.
close. That's damn close.
I mean, it's a bit. Anyway,
yeah.
I think this story will never make the top 5 because I wasn't playing it for the story. It's as generic as it kind of comes, really. Ratchet has to save the world. He almost doesn't, and then he does. Spoilers. So,
well, we did warn them.
Yeah. But like we're not talking about its gameplay. We're talking about its story. So I think Lyle's spot on. To be fair, it might not. It's an easy cut.
Sorry, could you say that sentence one more time, just so I can be clear that what you said was what I thought you said? Lyle
no,
is
I did.
what?
I agree with Lyle. Lyle is right.
No, you said it. Fine. Lyle is spot on. I agree with Lyle. Day 4 and the madness is just about setting in. So we I think everyone's played it or is aware of it. We're deleting Ratchet and Clank. Deleting sounds bad. Delisting? That sounds worse. Removing. Murdering. We're murdering Ratchet and Clank. That's gone. I'm going to attack a game you like, Lyle, because it's a remake. Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. It's also multiple stories, and it was already released in Japan.
Yeah, I mean, it's new for us this year, but I mean, I think it's more small stories than overarching story, and I can understand that. I mean, I think it's really good.
It is, yeah. No, it is.
Writing's amazing, stuff like that. But I think
it's funny because
right, to be honest.
When you thank you, I'll take that. When you think about it, like when you think about how long the cases take, and how long the actual stories are. I think you spend longer doing the story, doing the cases, than the stories themselves actually take. It's just that, but it's that kind of game. But I think only you and I have played it. I think
I am.
I played it.
Play it. I have it. I'm ready to go. This is going to be Christmas time for me.
10 minutes of it.
Of course you did. Yeah. No, I mean it's good, but it's not best story of 2021. Okay. Just making sure what year it was there. Okay, me and Lyle have cut one. Yes,
Can I pick
Adam.
a video game.
Yes, well.
You be careful, you be careful.
Listen, I will.
Just let's not get spicy right now. Let's ease towards the spice.
Spicy. I just always feel
you don't start a curry with a fowl. You have a poppadom or two first.
I know, but I never know how it's going to go down because I go in going, this will be all right, and then I see it and someone nearly fucking shits their pants.
Yeah, but that's again. I said this off the cast, so it won't have half as much humour. But when you get to 40, there's some. Yeah,
this is where
you're nearly on the edge all the time.
I am going to say it's not bad. It's not bad. It just I didn't give a damn as it went on anymore. Really, when I got the level of depth it went to, Far Cry 6.
No, oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just like, look.
There was a moment there where I thought you were going for Death's Door.
But what kind of can make a Far Cry story be amazing is its performances, and I just feel like. It's like Far Cry goes in with this story that, like, you genuinely can be like, yeah, that's okay. This is okay. I know where this is kind of going. But then the characters are just like, this is just boring now, isn't it?
I was going to say I don't think anyone's playing Far Cry for the story. I think you're playing for the gameplay. But I also think what you're playing for is you. That's what I was going to say. I think you're playing because you want the story to be as good as 3. I'm guessing
because they have been previously.
They've
really
been,
good.
Yeah. I mean, I liked 5, but I didn't like the way it ended. I thought that it was like we're not talking about 5, but 5's story I thought was pretty good until the ending just decides that it's not a normal game in the real world anymore or whatever. Well, I'm not really. I still don't really know. Like the end of that game, what it is. Yeah. I haven't finished Far Cry 6 because I just, as a series, I think I'm done with Far. It needs to go away for a year. It needs to go away for a year or two. No, I'm not done forever. It needs a break, and it needs the reinvention the way Assassin's Creed had it. It's like maybe so. Because they will do the same thing again now. They will do Far Cry. What was it called, Chris? Was it New World? Far Cry 5?
New Dawn. Yeah.
New Dawn. Sorry, but they will do something like that unless they do what they did with Valhalla, where they just kept adding DLC to it for like a second year. Like it needs a break, and they've got enough franchises, you know.
But like I think though, in terms of needing a break, a story would definitely be welcomed because I think Far Cry's best story is in 3. I know everyone keeps banging on about 3 when they talk about Far Cry in general, but you know that is the story that I gave a shit about.
3 was the breakout though, so they've been chasing that dragon ever since.
But I
thought 4 was pretty good. I mean,
again, none of them I think are bad. But like the question here is Far Cry 6's story one of the 5 best of the year?
No, it's not. It's not. But I will say, taking on that actor is somebody that I thought I was going to get a seriously like good story in some ways, or
I have to say I think you're right. I'm not going to disagree because my finger slipped earlier, Mr. Cook. Just so you know, with the thing Yeah.
That's going to sound really weird, just for the audio. Because if you think we were all in the same room, it sounds like I'm just
we're in the same room.
Sounds like a thumb just.
My hand's on his bottom. The acting from.
I'd say once you get to 40,
Esposito, Giancarlo Esposito is brilliant. Yeah. Like he does give the story some gravitas, but at the end of the day, yes, it is a Far Cry game, and I don't think you're ever going to get that kind of story because of the action that those games entail. They are blockbusters. They
have to go away for a bit, and the story has to backseat, doesn't it?
A lot. Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible.
No,
it's not Far Cry 3.
I mean, it's made a shortlist,
and the ending is really good. And it like the way it ties up Castillo's story and his son, like it builds very well throughout, and it's a really long game.
Yeah,
it lasts for a lot longer than I thought it would. But the story, it's not like the best thing about it. The best thing about it is the way it plays, like most of them.
Yeah.
So I'd be happy to cut it.
Okay,
cut it. We got 2 Chris's and Mick now have to pick.
Yeah, I mean, this is a new way of doing it, but I'm pleased. I like this.
I'm going to ask. It's another Lyle one, I think.
Oh,
I'm guessing, and I'm asking because I played like quite a bit of it for a preview, and I know it's on a shortlist for best something, but
Oh,
I
okay,
hated
yeah.
everything about it. Like,
Oh, yeah, I remember. I remember now.
Like,
I know exactly the game.
It's Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1. I just couldn't stand what they did with the characters or the way it was acted.
I'd argue what Lyle told me about it. It's not aimed at gentlemen of our age at all, Mick. It is most certainly aimed at the younger generation, I think.
Well, maybe, because the whole
You're
thing
old,
they did
Mick.
with John, who wasn't actually John Watson. And
I was going to say spoilers, but we did warn them.
Yeah, there are spoilers, because it's not. It's like spoilers. It's like the ghost of some. I don't know. I lost the fucking train of it. It was, and I was obviously it's on the shortlist because I assume, because I think when we were discussing reviews, I said Lyle would probably really want to review.
I have a feeling you made some vague threats if I asked you to review it. Actually,
wow.
Because I previously liked Frogware's Sherlock Holmes games. I think I did The Devil's Daughter. I think I reviewed that quite well, and I think I reviewed another one of theirs quite highly.
Do they have like the license for Sherlock or something? Because
to a certain extent, but they borrow from the books heavily and stuff rather than.
Okay, so maybe they have the license from the book.
Yeah, it's not the Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes or anything else.
Or being from England, the Cumberbatch ones.
Yeah.
Fucking
so it's
hell,
nothing.
Mick.
It's well,
that's really upsetting.
But So why is it on the list? Does the story just become spectacularly good, or is it just that you like the game? Because I don't want to. I'm still sore over the Back for Blood shit. I'll be honest.
What Lyle told me about the ending of this story made me want to play it. But
yeah, I'm just asking because I didn't play it much beyond the demo, so it may well deserve a place. But I'm asking because it stood out to me straight away because I kind of hated it with every fibre.
Yeah.
Lovely. Great to hear that.
Just in case you didn't hear him when he said that earlier.
Yeah.
He hated it.
Okay. So, I think a lot about Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1 is very different and very brave compared to everything they've done with Sherlock Holmes before. They've decided to do an origin story to a character that, obviously isn't really theirs. Like, it's not a studio run by Arthur Conan Doyle. It's and it's just like it's this origin story set on a completely a made up Mediterranean island to do with where the overarching story is all to do with Sherlock's past, basically his childhood, and it really does go some places, and it's absolutely wild, and it really did impress me. I think I said in the review that it was like Sherlock Holmes by way of Deadly Premonition, and I kind of stand by that in that it's completely balmy. And
the story is where it shines, as it sounds like is what you're saying.
Definitely, 100%, because there are definitely elements in the gameplay that I'm not 100% on that bring the game down compared to the story, but I mean, I really love the story, but I'm also the only one who played it. So
this is the thing.
I'm not saying cut it. I was just asking.
I think you are. You said you literally hate it with every fibre of your being. I think
every fibre of your being kind of suggests.
The preview build. I played an early preview build. In fairness to Frogwares, some of it may have been placeholder. Some of the shit maybe didn't stick. I don't know. I didn't.
But the thing is Lyle's kind of right, I think, because although he's saying now I'm bloody saying it, Chris. Lyle is right in this respect because he.
Oh, you've been right twice today.
I haven't been right once yet.
This is unprecedented.
He's the one who said no one else has played it apart from you, who let's just remind everyone hated it. And there's going to be 5 games on this list that we all did play and did like. So I know you're saying I'm not suggesting cut it, but why not? Because
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. I don't like it, and I would like to give a shout out to sexy young Sherlock, who just should be in more games, really.
Yeah, that got some comments on the YouTube. Yeah,
it did. Yeah, people got really upset.
How dare a video game be sexy?
Stick to.
Let alone a man.
God, so unprofessional.
Chris Hyde, you haven't cut anything, have you?
Cut anything? Okay, so I'm going to propose the Dark Pictures anthology, House of Ashes, but I do want to talk about it first.
Didn't you put it on the list?
Yeah, let's just all cut our own games.
Yeah,
I didn't actually put this on the list.
Okay, I probably put it on there. Probably just thinking you would have put it on there.
I do want to shout out because I think this House of Ashes, compared to any other of the Dark Pictures anthology, I would argue has the best story. It focuses more on not just the here and now of the actual game, but what's gone before, and actually touches on what kind of happens afterwards as well. And there's a bit sort of like up in the air about what comes afterwards, whereas a lot of the Dark Pictures games kind of go, it's in this moment and that's it, with occasional looks to the past. So for me, it did feel like it was a more kind of rounded story. The characters and their backstories and their past relationships felt more kind of fine-tuned and had more kind of gravitas playing out on screen when you're making your choices, which I felt was a strong touch, which I hope they continue in future Dark Pictures games. And I think I said this in the review, it feels more like a game that I could see as a film, like a story of like a AAA movie. And in that sense, it's probably not going to be a Shakespearean classic, but you can see it kind of as a story. It makes sense, and people would enjoy it. But there are at least 5 games stronger on this list in terms of story. But I did just want to give it its due, because I do think they've, Supermassive clearly paid attention and are moving in the right direction, I think, with the story aspect of those games.
But it's a cut.
Yes.
So, has everyone picked one? I mean, we don't have to do this.
No,
this
Chris White hasn't.
He's hiding. Do you want to pick
Lost
one?
in random.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's going to be the second one I picked. So yeah.
We don't have to do this. We can all just shout when we want to. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about Lost in Random. Yeah, we Lost in Random is a nice game.
We've talked about it quite a lot. It is a nice game, and the story's all right, but it don't know. It's just a bit typical.
It's quite generic
fairy tale.
Yeah.
Which is both a credit to it and detriment, I think.
Yeah.
No, I don't really have a lot to say. I think
I think
it's enjoyable to a point. There are faults. It's a good game, but it's not.
It's not quite on the level of these other games, is it?
No, completely agree.
There.
So can I, rather than cut one, can I ask a question about one? I'm not saying I think this should be a cut, but I'm going to ask if it is definitely not a cut, if that makes sense, based on the ending, because the next category is best moment, okay, but for best story, and this is no slander upon the quality of this game.
I know what you're going to say.
Metroid Dread.
Yeah.
I was about to ask that.
So,
because
do you want my view on it?
Is it a good story or a good campaign?
Do you want my view on it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So my view on that is Metroid. I know why it's on here. Metroid Dread is on here pretty much for the best moment that we're going to talk about later. And so, but for me, I don't think end to end it belongs in the best story category.
There's a moment in best. There's a one we didn't put in best moment that we could easily have. Like, I can never remember how to say his name. The really big enemy, Kraid. That moment where like Kraid appears, and it's supposed to be this big bad thing, and Samus is just like, oh, she's just
give 2 shades,
like, because she knows she's gonna just batter him.
Yeah.
Like, that is a really nice moment. But again, that's one tiny moment in a 10-hour game. The ending is we will talk about in best moment. I just wonder for best story.
Yeah,
is it actually an easy cut? Because
I
it's
think
all gameplay that game. I think
as an overarching story, I think it's not there. But as an interesting moment at the end, we definitely need to talk about it in best moment.
I remember reviewing it and saying to you, I will not spoil it, and I won't do it here. But I remember saying the ending of this is, if you're a Metroid fan, massive. Like, it's a game changer for the franchise. Like, it will impact everything that Metroid will be. But that's like a moment at the end of the game. The game's story is absolutely fine. It services the plot. But for me, the game is the good bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it feels like an easy cut.
Yeah, I would agree to cut it.
I know, Adam Carroll, you loved it too, but do you?
Yeah, I don't walk away with like a massive attachment to its story. I think it's probably one of the better Metroid stories.
But by hook of it being the only one recent.
But like, I'm not thinking back on that game on its story.
No.
And
So
it's fair.
I should say sorry. I think Lyle, you have played it as well, haven't you? And by the way, people listening, I'm not just not asking people because I'm not interested. I'm not asking because I know they haven't played it. That's my job, really. But Lyle, you have played it, I think.
Yeah, I have. I've beaten it. I
it's
kind
Jake
of
from the In-Betweeners completed it, mate.
completely mate. But
Brilliant.
I kind of found like the large sort of dumps of info from the robot voice. Is it Adam?
Yes.
I kind of found them almost annoying, if anything. Like the story sometimes put me off. I just wanted to play the game. So yeah.
I will say though that reveal was quite a surprise.
Oh, it was good. Yeah.
Like that was like I didn't expect it. And I think that's something that I will definitely say. Like the story of Dread does very well.
But again, best moments.
All before that, before that though, I'm not on the edge of my seat regarding its story. But,
absolutely. Bye bye Metroid Dread.
I would agree. Yeah.
Bye bye Metroid Dread. We will be seeing you again, I imagine.
We definitely will be.
What is before your eyes?
Not a clue.
Who put that on there, and what is it?
I suspect.
I've never heard of it.
It was me.
Oh, it is you. It was you. I thought it was you. So this is the eye tracking game,
where it's literally you blink to progress the game along.
Oh, okay.
But
I remember it now.
So you essentially start off on this boat with a ferryman taking you to what you would assume. Well, you don't actually know at the time, but it turns out to be the boat like Spiritfarer, the boat that carries you to the end, really, and it basically takes you back through your life, your memories throughout your life, and you kind of blink to change each memory. And as you blink, it switches to a memory. If you blink again, it moves to another one. So sometimes you miss what the memory is if you blink. Other times it lingers around a bit, and you get to control doing what you do and that kind of thing. But the story it kind of takes a few turns, and you start off as a child, and it shows you basically what it does. It shows you what life will be like if you'd grown up to be an artist and you made the stuff you wanted to do and become who you wanted to be without the influence of your mother, who's like a famous cellist. But what that actually is a lie, because you actually die as a child. And it then goes back to when you're a kid and you're lying in bed sick and you start to write instead. And your friends come round and you kind of make peace with everyone. And then because it's your viewpoint, you see yourself die. And it's just really kind of unexpected, but it's a really great game. And that's why it's on the list, because it was a story that I don't say I enjoyed, because it's hard to enjoy stuff like that. But very few games take that kind of approach to anything, where it kind of, kids die, and it's not great, is it? No. So I just really liked it. I mean, again, I'm the only one that's played it, but I feel like it should be mentioned.
Like that story seems to carry a major amount of weight, clearly.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, I don't feel like we need to have played it to like connect with the story and understand what it's doing.
I suppose the question is it does sound like it will eventually get cut, if I'm honest. But is it a cut now, or Chris? The question is, do you have 5 better games on this list?
Like all we say is, this is our list, and there are other games on this list where aren't as heavy, and I'm happy to cut it now. I just really wanted to give it a mention because I've not seen anyone talk about it.
No, I wanted to play it. It was on my kind of list of hopefully get to kind of thing. So I had it on my radar. I just never got around to it.
It's worth playing between some happy games, I would say.
In between that Dragon
Rocket
Cancer
up on
and
Christmas
Florence,
Day.
Yeah. But no, it's great, and I just feel like people should give it a go. If they've not heard of it, go and check it out on Steam.
Okay,
there you go.
13 left, chaps. There's a couple here that I feel I could target, but I think I've cut a few. Anyone else?
Sure. Let's talk about The Medium, because I remember playing like the first sort of I really enjoyed the start of that game, but I don't really remember anything other than just sort of like it was kind of good horror, but not like I don't remember the specifics. Really,
was the medium out this year?
January.
Yeah, it was like January, wasn't it?
Because then of course it was. Yeah, because I know it came to PS5 this year. I can't comment hugely on this because I encountered a bug that meant I could never finish the game. And by the time, by the time I thought maybe I could get back to it, it was long. I was just way too, it might have been fixed. Don't know. I remember the story being pretty heavy in that as well.
It was enjoyable. I think it tried to be too clever for its own good towards the end.
I think I was getting there, and I felt like it was sort of chasing its own tail a little bit. Like it
does a bit. I think it gets to a point midway, if you remember, where it kind of changes quite a bit of how the story.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. Like, and as you progress down that, once you know what, I don't think it's necessary to spoil that game. So what I'll say is, once you know the sort of dark stuff, it started, like I say, to feel like it was chasing its own tail for me. Like it was, I don't know. I mean, maybe it delivers on the ending. As I said, through no fault of my own, I can't comment. I would certainly question whether what I've played of it is a top 5 game.
No, I remember when I played it, I was satisfied with the ending. I don't remember being blown away. I
think it's Bloober Team's best game, personally.
What's that?
I think it's the developer's best game. I think that's
absolutely.
This is an avenue they should continue down. I feel like this is
and I think, but I agree with you. I think maybe even the first third when you get the big kind of revealing and like, oh. Okay, and that's shocking. But then after that, like you kind of, like you say, it never seems to kind of, for me, get to that.
Well, it does that thing of going mega supernatural while also trying to be grounded, trying to make it as though the supernatural is real.
Yeah,
which I guess in the universe it is, but it also feels like it's trying to be quite a grounded, gritty thing. And it's like, again, I didn't finish it, but I was never sure It was a bit like, is this happening or is this in the head? And I don't know if that resolves satisfyingly by the end, or if there really is weird supernatural.
I think it happens. She loses it's a sister, isn't it?
January, mate.
Yeah.
I could probably tell the future for next January easier than I could last.
I'm struggling to remember it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the fact
to make it this far,
that we're all struggling is that it's not I know it's January, which is unfair. But I
think it's credit to it. It's made it this far.
Yeah. But in terms of the top 5, I don't think it quite makes it. But I think the fact that we're talking about a January game for best story, it's probably the best part of that game. Is that and the atmosphere that it invokes.
I like the atmosphere, but I think I'm with you. So are we cutting it?
Compared to what else on this list, it goes.
Yeah.
I think that Returnal,
yes,
is a bit like what we'd said about Metroid Dread. In a way, I think there was a moment in it that was better than the overall story.
Yeah,
because I think the overall story, even if you did get to the end, even if you did play it through a second time and get to the real ending, I didn't like the twist. I don't know whether we should spoil it. It's been out for a long time.
If you're essentially saying we're going to cut it, I don't think it's necessary to spoil it. Personally,
no, I won't spoil the twist at the end, but I didn't like it.
To me, it's more like a Dark Souls style game.
Yeah,
like the story is there within the lore, but the gameplay is why you're playing that. Like you say, like Metroid.
I mean, I will talk about it during best moment because
yes.
there was one bit of that I thought was just amazing. And it's story related, so that'll come to it. But I do think it is a game that's a bit like we said about Metroid Dread. Like when I was playing it, I wasn't that fussed about the story. Once I found out where the story was going, and I realised what it was actually saying, I was a bit disappointed.
Okay. By
the decision they made when they were writing it. So I think we could probably cut Returnal for it. We've talked about it before. It's been in some of the top 5. And it's going to come up again.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I suppose the one that stands out to me that I have played on this list is Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin.
Mm-hmm.
That stands out a little bit to me because although I enjoyed that game and I think that game was one of my biggest surprises in terms of like overall how much I liked it, and which I've discussed on this podcast, the Game of the Year podcast. The story is not.
It's quite a formulaic Monster Hunter story.
Yeah, well, it's not even. I wouldn't say formulaic Monster Hunter story. I would say it's a formulaic JRPG story. It is. I bet there is another game that has done this story note for note. It's fine. Like it propelled me along. But I would also argue again, like Dread, actually what propelled me along was getting new monsties. The combat is like, I think it's
even now I still like.
No, I know. It's the best combat in a Pokemon game that isn't a Pokemon game by absolutely fucking miles. It is. It's how I wish they. That's the evolution that Pokemon needs, is to nick that combat. It's so exquisitely done. The story kind of was like, oh, here's a cutscene. Yeah, it looks all right. This is fine. But for me, it was that next encounter, that next boss battle.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why it's on this list. But
I remember, I'm sure I sent you a text at a certain point, and I can't remember the exact point it was, but I was just like, I just watched a cutscene that fucking floored me. I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and I can't remember it now, which one it was at the time.
No, but I know what you mean.
There's a lot of cutscenes in that
but
game
it's not.
good,
it's not the best.
Yeah.
It's not even the fifth best story.
Nah.
I found it hard to resonate with the story because I made my character look like an absolute bellend. And
okay. So you were getting
out of it.
That dissonance where, like you said, there's no emotion because,
just his stupid face kept appearing.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair comment. We're removing this.
Yeah.
Can I be the bad guy for a minute and ask another question similar to what I asked with Dread?
Go ahead.
Chris White, Adam Carroll. I just need a yes or a no for now. Okay. Life is Strange: True Colors stays on for now, correct?
Yep.
Okay. I just needed a yes or no so we know if that's off the cards until we've whittled it down a bit more.
Arse as well.
Whoa.
I'm gonna make a bold suggestion.
Bold one. Go on.
And I don't think I'm gonna get too many people disagreeing with me.
Oh. I'm just gonna warm
and
my
you may be
up.
surprised.
Yep.
But I'm gonna cut Scarlet Nexus.
What?
Really?
Oh, please. Somebody who watching this back, zoom in on that moment when Chris Hyde's eyes, his eyebrows just fucking took off then. That was magic. I was watching it as you started to star.
I have to say, Chris.
Tell me why.
Of all the
best Backstreet Boys song you can do.
He's coming through the screen at you, mate.
I obviously love this game more than most games this year. But it gets to a point where the story becomes a bit stupid, and it involves
anime.
Well, yeah, but it involves the moon, and all sorts of weird shit that you're just like, what? And like the thing that makes it is the characters and their progression and the way they interact, which I don't necessarily involves the story as such. I just think, like, I love this game because I love Kasane and her relationship with the sister. I love the relationship between the kind of, I can't remember his name, but like the big bad boss who has a good side, but it's kind of, it's touch and go throughout. And like the set pieces are excellent. Like the game is excellent, but I just think the story from start to finish kind of gets a bit lost in itself. And by the end, I don't know. It doesn't, I don't know. I just don't think it's good enough to be in a top 5.
So, I agree. I knew you were going to say the moon when you said like it goes.
Yeah.
I get that it does, and I think I even said when we were talking about it on the weekly pod about what we've been playing. The story's absolutely batshit crazy. It goes places like, oh my god, it's going to go there. The thing that I thought might keep it in a bit longer than some of these other games is I think it's what it does with its story that is really clever. Is the way it interlinks the two different parts if you choose to have your character as Yurito or Kasane, and the way that those stories interact, and you find out different things at different points in the story. Like I know, like I think we even spoke about it on the pod. You found out about time travel about 3 hours in. In my playthrough, I found out about it about 9 hours in, and I was like, Chris, why are you spoiling this major plot point that's like really far into the story? It's because it was quite an early thing for you, but you didn't know that because you played.
No, exactly.
So I think that is like, I think that is really clever because it's not just what some games do, which is you experience the same story just with a different face. Like it's actually a very different story, and the characters doing different things at different times, and the way it deals with the perspective of what characters do and when they see each other, I think is very clever. and I thought you'd be saying that too, so I'm a bit surprised.
No, but to be fair, I didn't think of that because obviously I haven't played his whole campaign. I've just played Kasane's. So I'm talking about the story that featured there. But yeah, no, you're right. But well, I don't know. What do we do? Have we reached an impasse?
What about? Are there not some we could get rid of first?
That was more where I was. If it gets,
I just
cut,
fancy
it might
being
get
a
cut,
bit saucy. That was all.
But I know it is getting a bit.
We're too agreeing. I don't like
Everyone's too amicable tonight. We're just like, yeah, you're right. Actually.
Okay. Let's ask a big question.
What about
instead.
Forgotten City?
Well, hang
All
on.
right.
Well, the issue with Forgotten City is the one that's going to keep coming up in this sort of category. In that, if only one person's played it,
I played it.
Yeah.
Okay, I played it, but not completed it.
I've completed it, mate.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Well, then let's have the discussion. Then, like Mick mentioned it, let's have that discussion. Then Lyle was about to ask a big question. We can get to Lyle's big question.
Big question after, yeah, sure.
Okay. Was it? Shall we cut the Forgotten City? Was that the big question?
It was not. It was definitely not that.
No,
question.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
The Forgotten City is, I mean, probably my number one in this category. If I'm being honest, I just think it has a lot of really great elements. It has a lot of. I mean, we'll reveal some of them in best moment, I'm sure.
Yes.
But it has a lot of twists, a lot of big reveals, a lot of sort of a historical backstory that I didn't think I'd like, and I really do. And I don't know. I kind of like how many different angles you can go at as well, and how many different ways you can play it. Because I've not only completed this game this year, but I've watched friends complete it because I recommended it, and they've come at it from completely different angles and found things out at different times to me. And I just think the way it all comes together is really clever. And like, there were things that were really big reveals to me. For example, that when he was playing, he like found this out sort of so much later that it wasn't a surprise. And I thought that was kind of cool. And I don't know, I really love the story. I'd be interested to hear what Chris thinks. My potential ally.
Look, so
alliances are formed, friendships are broken.
I think it's
like a movie.
No. Like, look, I agree with some of what you're saying. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation when we talk about another game on this list. When you have looping games, just to put my stall out there.
Well, which game could you be talking about?
Is it an interesting point around narratives and how stories land if there is that flexibility, like you've literally just described it, like and different ways of finding things out and different orders of finding things out. How does a overarching story land successfully if there's so much flexibility and fluidity to it? And I feel like that's, in my mind, that's probably what lets the Forgotten City down a little bit, is because there is definitely, I'll be really clear, there's definitely a beginning, middle, and end to that story, and you're right, there is lots of things that you uncover. I would argue some of the stuff you uncover is not new, it's just reminding you of facts, but I don't want to spoil stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Yes. Like I guessed certain things that came, and I didn't guess other things, which annoyed me because I knew them. But it kind of reveals facts rather than story twists, and I feel like it is still a good story. Like it's top 10, right? It's not like it's bad, but I wasn't, when I finished it, I wasn't like, that's floored me in terms of story. It was interesting, but there are other games on this list that I'm like, that I liked that more as a story. But it definitely deserves to be on this list talked about. But I'm not probably going to be fighting for it to the end to be on a top 5. Really sorry. So maybe friendships ended. But
and with the end of that friendship probably comes the end of Forgotten City on this list, unfortunately. But I'm glad it got its mention, and I mean, I guess it's hard because I don't know if it's sort of, if I was to say the exact story of that game, I don't know if it's as brilliant as sort of how the loops come together and what you investigate at what time. So it's kind of abstract how the story can come together, and maybe it's more conversations than the story that is like maybe higher up. But
before we get to your big question, can I tag on to what you two have just said.
Sure.
If the Forgotten City is going, I think Deathloop also has to go.
So I obviously agree because I teed it up sort of because that's what I believe. But I'm happy to have the discussion. But I agree.
I think Deathloop goes for similar reasons, but also slightly different ones. Because I think again, and I hate, there's always, like the year of microtransactions, the year of active reload. It's almost the year of time loops, but it's also kind of the year of, like, when we put these lists together, I usually start them early off, and I'll put a link out for all you guys to add games to, the behind the scenes stuff, I suppose. And it populates throughout the year. We don't do it every week, but you'll just now and again you think of it or be reminded of it, and you pop games down on the list. I feel like this year the category I've personally struggled the most with has been best story, and I think that's because so many games this year for me I've enjoyed, whether it's a change in me or this way the year's been, I don't know, but I found that what I've been gravitating towards is more gameplay focused stuff. So when I think of Deathloop, I think of this cool mechanic and the characters and the shooting and the powers, the arcane sort of powers that they do with Dishonored. I don't think of that as, it is a story game, but I don't think of it as a story game, if that makes sense. The way I think of Tales of Arise as a JRPG with a story. The way I think of Life is Strange is a story game. You know what I mean? Psychonauts 2 has a definitive story. Like, Deathloop to me never really comes into my thoughts in the same way. And that's a weird thing to say because it has got a story. But it's not why I'm playing it. It's not, I'm not like, I must push on to find out what happens next. Like, I care, but like not as much as I do about other stories. But then I am also maybe not the guy for story this year. So it's, but I think they both have to go.
I think Deathloop is more really, really good writing than a really, really good overarching story. Like the writing in Deathloop is fantastic.
Yes.
The premise, the concept, all that stuff is fantastic. The actual story itself, like the beginning, middle, end of that narrative, as we're talking about story, not necessarily all that good. I think it's more the tapestry that Arcane created with Deathloop. It's like we spoke about, a couple of days ago, and we said about when Adam said about the look, the aesthetic of that game, the style that it has going on. That game has.
It's got a vibe. That game's got a vibe.
It's probably the coolest game this year by far. It's just it's absolutely fantastic in how it brings everything together. But I don't think the actual story, the actual narrative story, is that great. I think it's more a framework for all that cool shit to be banging around inside, as opposed to an actual really good story. That's my opinion, but feel free to disagree.
Well, Adam's got a look of thunder about his eyes.
Yeah, I definitely disagree. I do think that the story of Deathloop, as what you're saying, is fair to a point, but I think to say that the story isn't good, but the character chat is, that's story. That's story in my head. Like,
it's lore to me. That is, it's world building to me.
It's story, right? And like, I'm gonna have to spoil something here, no, but like, it is what it is. This is where we're at. You go through that game, and you're like, Cole Julian, you're like hilarious, blah 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 blah, whatever, and the banter, you understand the flow. It's constantly throwing this new stuff at you all the time, and you kind of you kind of start seeing what's happening. Then you kind of start piecing it together. But there was one moment where I was just like, holy shit. And it just completely changed the game for me, was the fact that Juliana is Cole's daughter. And that to me was huge. I was like, I totally didn't see that coming. And it was like hilarious, even more on top of what was already funny with the way they were talking to her, because you almost felt like, for me in my head, I was kind of going, are they going to kind of have a thing of like, is there this weird flirting going on or something?
Yeah, you think of it as that kind of, yeah.
Yeah, you do. And then it's like, and then he's just like, what? And she's like totally aware, but like mocking him almost over it. And you're like, no, this whole time they've been just out, and she's been out trying to kill him and stop him from doing all this stuff. And it's hilarious that they're father and daughter. Like that was so not what I expected to happen.
So I haven't finished Deathloop, so I have a question about that. After that revelation, do you still have to kill her? Like, is that still part of the thing? Like, you can still be invaded by her.
Yeah, it is. Like
to me, that's not a good story to me. That's just a revelation for the sake of it. There's no impact upon the world if you still then just carry on killing her. I haven't played it all the way through, so I could be wrong. But to me, that sounds like the sort of thing that should happen, and then there's some sort of resolution or change to the universe that you are existing in, than just, and I'm still going to kill her every time she appears in my world.
Well, like, I know, but like, I know what you're saying, but like, the story of that character development it is just unexpected. And you do have to kill her, because at the end of the day, it is what it is.
But that doesn't sound like character development to me. It sounds like nothing. It sounds like again, I haven't finished it. Someone reveals that's revealed, and there is no development, because all that happens now is she takes the piss out of you, and like, well,
this comes back to kind of what I was trying to get at before, though, because it all depends on, I guess, when you find that out,
absolutely.
right? Because you could, if you just go down the lead that leads to that.
Speedrun it.
If you go, but also if you just, you've got multiple choices that you can go through. You can choose to go after that lead or that lead, right? And if you happen to just pick the one that you don't know at the time that leads to that reveal earlier, then nothing changes, because you have to do all of the others. If you happen to do all of the other ones first, and this one's right near the end, then it probably does change your kind of view on things, and maybe what, I don't want to spoil stuff, but maybe what happens at the end.
It gives you a choice. It gives you a choice at the end.
It does. But my point is that the gravitas of it is lessened because of the nature of when you could find it out. And I guess that's the point I'm making about these loop games. Because to Adam's point, you could discover that quite early. Not the first thing you discover. Absolutely not.
Because I didn't.
No, absolutely not. But you could discover it halfway through the game and then have to carry on doing it as though it's normal because of the choice you made. And there's no indication of it, because it's a spoiler, because it's a reveal, because it's not leading, you don't know it's coming. There is that dynamic to it. Like, I guess that's what I was trying to get at.
In my head, the story of Deathloop is those two characters. That is what it is. I know people can definitely disagree and go, no, you got to know about the universe and the world and whatever it is. Okay, fine. But as soon as you start that fucking game, it takes about half an hour before you start really going, these two are quality. And you are invested in them. And that's that. You don't really go, what's the world like? Oh, these enemies. What is that enemy type? You don't give a shit. You don't give a shit about that.
I did. I absolutely did.
I
wanted to know what was going on with the loop more than I did what was going on with them. Like, what's happening? Why is this a thing? How come she knows and he doesn't? No, absolutely.
I can't say that, like, I look at this list and go, my God, if Deathloop doesn't make top 5, that's a bad choice in best story.
But with all, and that's fair comment in your opinion. But as a list overall, like, we're still at the point where only 2 people have played Life is Strange, and you're saying that's also a lock. So we've got 2 locks, one which I haven't finished, one which I haven't played. Like, I'm not saying it's about me, but I'm saying, like, Mick hasn't played Life is Strange. He hasn't played. Oh, he has played Deathloop. Life is Strange.
I swear to God, I've never in my life heard of a game get such a fucking dirty nose.
No one said anything bad about it. I just haven't played it. Like, but we can't just go, well, that's a lock. That's a lock. Well, there's 10 games here. 5 have got to go.
I have to say, right, whatever. If people are in agreement of Deathloop going,
well, then
okay.
I'm not saying Deathloop's a definite cut. I was just giving my opinion on the story. I'm not, I think
I'd be but we can't go cutting the Forgotten City for one reason and keeping Deathloop despite it having the same reasons to cut it. We can't. They either both. Like, the Forgotten City is all about the characters and the story, and it sounds like people are suggesting that Deathloop is all about the characters and the story. So, like, why is it okay to cut Lyle's number 1 pick, but keep Deathloop, which sounds like it's Adam's number 1 pick, or 2, maybe 3, but we can't. It doesn't. To me, that's not a team decision. That's cutting Lyle's game and keeping Adam's.
I agree.
So I think let's shelve both those games for now, and let's. I'll cut one that I have a lot of love for. In fact, do you know what? I'm just going to suggest 2 games. Sorry, we're at that stage, nearly an hour into the first category. I'm going to suggest 2 cuts.
Go on.
Halo Infinite and Death's Door.
I was going to ask about Halo because I think you're the only one still who's played in the
Halo
campaign
is this is the thing, right? So Halo is
very quickly before you go on about this. Can we, out of every game here,
I'm not going to spoil it.
That's fine.
No, I'm not going to. No.
That's out only like a few hours.
No, that's the thing is that like Halo has not been out for very long. So while we would normally say sorry, spoilers, that's what this is about, and while you may listen to this in February, I don't know, we never know where everyone listens to it. I don't think it is necessary to spoil Halo Infinite story. There is a couple of moments I would like to talk about. One is quite early on, but in terms of the story, it's not like this amazing story. To be honest with you, and I think maybe only Mick, maybe Lyle, because you played all the Halos, haven't you?
I've played all the Halos.
You played all of them? Okay, so you guys, this might mean something too. While I didn't think 5 was a bad game, okay, the story was confusing, convoluted. It was a strange story. It was marketed one way. The game was... Anyway, Halo Infinite, for me, it's a good story, well told, but it's a course correction. This is what they had to do to get Halo back into the limelight of being, okay, I care about Halo again. This is what they had to do. I've seen reviews where people have said, you don't need to have played the previous games. Bollocks, in my opinion. Like, I don't know what on earth they're thinking, because like there is stuff you will, if you don't know anything about Halo, you will play some of these, and the story will mean nothing. You will be confused. If anything, you will be like, well, hang on. Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Do you know what? I've only played the first couple of hours, but already that makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Because a lot of that build-up in the story for the first couple of hours is all about his past and a lot of the characters that have come before. So it makes a lot more sense.
Don't get me wrong. You will enjoy this video game. The combat is just chef's kiss. It's magnificent. But you will play this game, and there's a lot of story for an open world game. There's a significant amount of story for a game where the main character doesn't say a lot. He does say quite a bit. But I finished that game for the review, and I was writing the review, and I wrote the review, and I sat there and I was like, I'm gonna have to watch the ending of Halo 5 or watch like a recap of Halo 5, because I don't remember anything about this. It was 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. It is linked. So they even said in like the review guide, it's like 18 months after Halo 5. But I couldn't remember anything of Halo 5 apart from one key element. So if all you knew of Halo was kind of what you'd seen, you'd osmosis. You'd seen Halo, you'd seen the Master Chief, you'd seen Cortana, you'd seen the stuff that they've always shown. I think you could play this game very confused and not understanding what on earth is going on. There are some really cracking moments in it, but as a story, I don't think it quite sticks the landing, and I think it's a course correction more than... It's a good course correction, like they've done right. A lot of Halo Infinite is about course correcting, about getting back to being good. Very brilliant, in fact, it's getting back to that, but in terms of actually best story, I don't even know if it would be in the most memorable story list, let alone, which is kind of... So I'm going to propose Halo Infinite cuts, and given that I'm the only one who's finished it here, I'll buy Halo. Yeah. Death's Door was the other one.
I haven't played Death's Door.
It's fine. The story's fine.
People got a lot of love for the game.
The game's great. The story's...
I agree with that.
The story feels very... It's a little bit... It's all right. But you're not. I wasn't left like, it's the gameplay.
Look, if what I'm suggesting, and sorry to talk over you, Chris, what I'm suggesting here is if we are at the point where there are several people who really don't want to cut Life is Strange, really don't want to cut The Forgotten City, really don't want to cut Deathloop, then Death's Door has just got no chance against those games alone. Plus, there's titles here like Tales of Arise, Psychonauts 2. We haven't even mentioned. Death's Door's got no chance, and it's a brilliant game, but it's got no chance in this list. It's not a story game. It has a story.
Scarlet Nexus hasn't been cut either, I think.
No, did we actually cut Scarlet Nexus? I've cut Death's Door, unless anyone's got any problem with that.
I think you can cut Scarlet Nexus now, can't you? I know Chris Hyde was quite defensive
Well,
of it.
the only thing is that Chris White suggested it, and it felt like by the end of the discussion he changed his mind and retracted his dismissal. Just his murder of Scarlet Nexus.
Murder.
Marta.
No, I still think it should be cut from what else is on this list.
I mean, if we cut it, we're down to 7, which means 2 more need to go, and we're there. I would feel happy getting there while there's still some sort of time in the day. Because this is going to get very difficult in a minute.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So,
okay. If no one else is going to fight for it, then
it's an anime story.
Decision,
the game is brilliant. The combat is brilliant. But for me,
yeah.
I used to be into anime as a young man. It's an anime story. It's a wild
one. It does
one,
get
but
really batshit crazy.
But that's anime. That's what anime does. Like, you know, think of Akira, the one film everyone knows. Think about how that starts to how it ends. Like that's.
I have a question to ask.
Yes, Lau, you had a big question to ask. Sorry, Nate.
It was about Halo originally, but I can do a different one.
I can edit it in so that's what you asked.
Does It Takes Two make the top 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. Yes. No. Ooh, let's discuss.
I'm not ready to... Look, everyone shat on that story. Everyone said the game's great, this is great, this is great. But not us, I should say. On our site, we didn't. Everyone said this game's great, it's great, it's great. The short story shit.
Why?
I never played this game and thought the story was shit. Sorry, I didn't.
To be fair, I didn't either.
It is in service... I think, in fact, I think what they achieve, story-wise, with a combination of humour and pathos... is actually quite remarkable. I mean, we're not going to spoil it here because if you don't want the moment spoiled. But when we get to best moment, there are a lot of moments in It Takes Two that are on that list, and we won't be able to have them all. But just to look ahead a little bit, thinking of, let's just say elephant, okay, and then let's think of the insanity of this adult couple that are running around on their daughter's bed cheering and celebrating because she is crying. Because she is crying, the humor of that, and then like the genuine, there's moments in there that are genuinely sad. In the way that when you watch a Pixar film, you're like, they make you cry. You know what I'm saying? Like when you watch a Pixar film and it makes you cry, like there's moments in there like that. So I'm torn.
I also think that the characters, because
but this is best story, not best new character.
No, but I'm not on about that. What I mean is, the fact that the whole story is about those two characters. They're going to get divorced. The daughter doesn't want them to, and then they're thrown together into this most ridiculously insane situation.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Where they, but where they have to. I don't know. It sounds a bit trite. Characters that are falling out have to work together, and you could argue against it. But I think that story is absolutely lovely, and it does go
add to
dark,
that.
and it does go sad.
There's a moment at the end where, look, we are in territory of spoilers now. That we're in territory of spoilers. We have to, and I have to say this. There's a moment at the end where they kiss, okay, and that. So powerful was it that playing it with you people who are all men, my male friends, made me almost feel a bit like it was almost, you know, when you're a kid and there's a sex scene comes on the telly and your mum and dad are in them, and you're like, you can't. There's nowhere else to look. Like there's not enough floor. It was almost that awkward moment of like, oh, I'm kissing my mate. Like, do you know what I mean? Because I've just spent that whole game with Adam. That then all of a sudden you're like, there's this bit, you know, because that is a hugely emotional scene, and it is done in such a way in terms of the aesthetic, the audio, the visuals, that it's genuinely moving.
It was.
And another thing I like about that story is I think the end is left just vague enough that you think they'll be all right, but you're not certain they'll be all right. And I think it's kind of the best way of leaving that story, because that game is not a story about, oh, and everything's all right in the end. You rip a fucking elephant's limbs off. Like, it is not a story about, oh, sugar and candy. It's if anything, it's.
I think what they do is, like, they obviously, the start of the game, they're very anti each other.
Yes.
And as you move on, like Mick was saying, the character development is excellent, but that does feed into the story of them becoming closer, and not necessarily romantically. Like the end for me, it was like they realized that they need to be okay for the kid more than anything. Because at the end of the day, in these kind of situations, when you've got kids, they need to be supported, and then they need to feel loved. And I feel that the girl at the end does feel loved. And whether they get back together or not, that story is culminated.
It's kind of irrelevant.
And
it's her story, but you don't play her almost.
Yeah. And I think these moments in that we'll talk about soon, they make this story so fantastic. Like I don't know what people's problem with it was. I don't know whether
I think people wanted The Last of Us.
Thought it was, well, I think
they wanted this dark, gritty narrative, and it is.
But it's
dark.
a fucking
It was too saccharine for some people.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's a lovely game, and
I would argue it made me go away and feel like I need to spend more time with my family. I need to spend more time with my kids, because the fact is they don't know what's going on in her world because they're so wrapped up in theirs, and
I kind of think it's a generational thing. If you're a parent in particular,
possibly,
if you are a parent and you're in that situation, and you can relate to a certain extent. I think it's different than if you're a young person without kids, probably single or whatever. You are going to probably see a lot of that as kind of too saccharine, too sugary sweet to really.
See, the thing is, I don't find any part of that game saccharine.
No, I didn't.
Like I say, I think they tread that line absolutely marvelously. I really think they tread that line.
Did, because I did see reviews that said.
But then I think they've forgotten the fact there are so many moments in this game that are like weirdly dark. Mixed in with the pathos and the humour. Like this game, Lyle, obviously you were the most recent person to finish this game. And you and I were chatting off podcast about how this game is literally a game of moments that make one big moment, which is the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is our list. Totally. No one else's.
I feel like it needs to stay in the top 5.
You've kind of talked me around as well, because I know I brought.
Talked myself around, mate, because I was thinking it was a car.
But I think the main issue for me was more the ending seemed like it was maybe a little bit too much happily ever after for me, because throughout the game I never really thought that should be where it went. I kind of thought it should they
go their separate ways,
arguing and are good to their kid. But then hearing how everyone else feels about it in terms of it being a bit more nuanced, and maybe that's not necessarily where it goes after that, and just in general the whole overarching thing. Yeah, I think I've been talked around. I retract my potential.
I think maybe the first time I played it, I thought it's a bit weird to have happy ever after. But the more that I played it 2 more times, and I was like, I don't know that is. I think it's left ambiguous enough that I'm not sure they spell it out. It's going to be all right. I think they're telling her it's going to be all right, but I'm not sure they're turning to camera and going, winking at the camera. They're back together.
And I mean, the family unit I don't know what's wrong with a happy ending. So many games.
No, but I don't know if the game needs it
anymore.
No, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. So it sounds like we're not cutting that. Adam, you've been very quiet.
I'd like to keep it on there.
I would keep the It Takes Two there as well, because I'm with you. I didn't walk away from that raging. I didn't get annoyed by its story. I think I've read people's comments as to why they got annoyed, and I was just like, all right, off you go. Like I don't get it. Like I've seen mainly it's the statements of that people who have gone through their parents divorcing at a young age. They see this kind of game and they go, fuck that. That's not the way it ever was. It's not the way it ever is. It's never pleasant. It's
but I imagine they didn't fight a squirrel on the back of an airplane either.
Yeah. But where
the plane was made of your dad's pants. And I'd imagine they didn't. I mean, I don't want to spoil all the game here, but I mean, fucking hell, come on. Like, it is still an entertainment factor. It is still a video game that you're playing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's this.
So the problem we've got here then is that The Forgotten City, Life is Strange, It Takes Two, Deathloop are all games no one wants to cut. I'm damn sure Chris would rip my limbs off like an elephant if I tried to cut tails of her eyes, which I don't want to. Psychonauts 2 I would feel massively uncomfortable cutting.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think that's got such a good story. I wasn't
they all have
expecting
though.
that
We are at the
story to
top
be
7.
good. Well, do we start voting yet? I mean, is it
think
worth?
we
Do we
might
need
have
to
to.
talk about Psychonauts 2? Is there how
Psychonauts
many
2,
people are?
I would be intrigued because Lyle said that his number 1 was The Forgotten City, and that surprised me because I thought it would be Psychonauts.
That'd be 2 for me, though.
Okay, no, that's fair. Psychonauts 2 is to me a very, very important video game.
What you've said already, like, feel free to tell me more because I haven't played much of it. So, from what you've told me about this, that it sounds like it's got a very important story as much as an interesting one.
I think of all the people here, and obviously I'd like to think I know you guys all pretty well. I think of all people here, Chris White, I think you would appreciate this video game as much as Lyle and I do in terms of story. I think it has quite a bit to say, in the same way that It Takes Two is quite sort of jovial. Like Psychonauts 2 is very colourful, not always, but very colourful and quite jovial. It deals with. I've talked about the mental health stuff. I think on this, didn't we? I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
But I also think it actually has something to say in terms of there's a scene, for example, where Raz goes into someone's mind without consent, right? I'm not going to get into. Don't worry, I'm not going to get too dark here, but I think it has something to say about kind of like I don't know, society as a whole. I think it's really well written, really clever, and it has things to say about, like, even on a sort of simple level of, like, you might think you know someone, but you don't know what's going on in their head. Like, you literally don't. And it's kind of, it was a game that, you know, I walked away from thinking, I need to be a better friend to people. Not, you know, I need to ask them how they are more often. And I think if a game can impact you in a way that it makes you physically act differently or mentally act differently by going out and saying, "Are you all right, mate?" You know, just make that effort to go. Almost to set an alarm to myself to be less selfish. Remember to ask someone how they are. I don't think that can be discounted. I think that's a powerful thing to take away from a video game.
And I think alongside that as well, even outside of, you know, the more important side of what that game discusses, I think just as a sequel, they do a really good job of just, like, you know, continuing that story in a way that's interesting and relevant and just great.
When you picked it up, Lyle, did you for 1 minute? Because I didn't. I'll admit now. I thought they'd never do this. I never for 1 minute thought that Psychonauts 2 would be literally moments after Psychonauts.
Not at all.
I thought that is such a bold thing to do for a game that is, oh God, what, 10, 15, 20 years old?
I think it's 20, yeah.
Yeah, to actually have the story continue, like, almost right after, I was like, when I played it, I was like, wow, fuck, okay, that's bold and impressive. And also, I couldn't remember after the first one, but it made me feel at home and I was fine. I got it. I got everything about it straight away. I can't cut Psychonauts personally, but it's not my list, so, yeah.
So what about Guardians then? I know I defended it by saying because the story I think is good, but it's also just a pretty straightforward Marvel story. I mean, they do some cool stuff with some of the characters. I like the stuff with Rocket and his past when you have to go and talk to him. I think the stories that the Guardians themselves tell when you spend time with them.
I think the story is the best thing about that game.
See, I really, really like it. So
I do too. I like the gameplay as well. But I
do think the story's really good. But is it as like a lot of the stuff that we're arguing for? It Takes Two, Psychonauts 2, Forgotten City, Life is Strange. These are stories that probably make the game as opposed to are just good within the game. Like I don't like.
Yeah.
Is Guardians on that level? Is Guardians on that level where,
not for me.
Would you?
I think I put it on this list, which just says a lot about how strongly I enjoyed that game. But I don't think.
I mean, I would have put it on this list absolutely.
Yeah, no, I just don't think it's top 5.
Yeah, looking at what's left, and there's only really one game that I'd fight for and already have on that list. The rest is kind of up for grabs for me. But I think. Looking at it and listening to what people have said about some of these other titles, I don't think anyone's saying you must not cut Guardians.
No,
like I don't think
not
that's
against some of
right
the
now.
Against the passion for some of these others. It's not for me.
There's been some real good. It's been a really, really good discussion tonight, and I think it's just that
I really love the story.
No, I did too, but
I like how they each character gets an individual story arc within the main story itself. I think it's done very well, and how it incorporates the new powers or new abilities that they all end up getting in the end. It's on my list, but that's only because I've not played the others. Right, Psychonauts, I think, should remain.
It would bump that down. I guarantee you.
No, I don't. It's the only game that we've talked about for the whole podcast where I'm going to go away at some point over Christmas and play that game.
It'd be a lovely Christmas
downloaded
game.
it just because we've been talking.
No, it'd be a lovely game to spend a bit of time with over that period. I think. Actually.
So I don't think that goes. I don't think It Takes Two goes. That definitely is on this list. I think me and Adam should probably discuss Life is Strange.
Well, if it's going to stay, it has to be discussed at some point, and Tales of Arise has to be.
Tales of Arise needs discussion, and then we go for the jugular on some of these.
Okay.
And I think Adam should start because, and I will support you here.
Just in case.
I got your back, man.
But I have, and I mean, like, and then I'm going to go and talk about it.
I really don't know where to kind of begin with Life is Strange's story, and I'll say straight off that, like, on this list, it's where with this game, this is the one category where I go, this is my number one. And I think, like, what True Colors provided in its storytelling was not to say anything, but the other ones, it's just more real, and it's just offering, like, when I say more real, it just is. It's fucking just humans in a town, and that's what it is. Aside from what Alex does with her power, everything else is pretty much, it's very real. And to me, I haven't had this kind of game in a while where the writing and character stuff is so. I think the last game that I played that it has this much weight, and this is where I kind of go, it's not to the same level. But The Last of Us 2, Life is Strange kind of has its writing.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What's it about? Like, and that's not facetious. I don't know what it's about. Like, I know what all these other games are about. I don't know what Life is Strange True Colors is about.
Alex is this girl who comes from. She goes away from this foster home kind of place to go to this town, to meet her brother Gabe, who she hasn't seen in years. She gets to this town. It's all a lovely little place. It's really unreal, to be honest. And you meet all the locals, such as the barman Jed, which is like just
brother, what a legend,
ridiculous. And within this town, there is a mining company called Typhon, and Typhon are a company that have employed all the kind of residents over time within this village. So everyone kind of has this, like, oh yeah, we work there and blah blah blah, and there's obviously something weird that's going on. Now, Chris, jump in, please, if I'm missing some beats here.
No,
as to why
you know what? I think with this story, it really kind of starts to move when, spoilers, your brother dies.
Yeah,
relatively early on,
very early,
out of nowhere. I mean, even though, so basically, Alex uses her powers to save this boy who is basically Gabe's kind of stepson, who's kind of run off into this mining facility. You finally save the boy, but Gabe ends up dying, and then from there, that's how it kind of incorporates this evil mining corporation, this company, doesn't it? You know, yeah. and it's like it deals with loss very well as well, and I think the characters, I know we're going characters, but they add to this story, and I think you really fall in love with these people. Like, and this event, it kind of feels to me like in the first Life is Strange, it hits those beats where, what are the names? What's the coloured hair girl's name who says Hella a lot? The main, not Max.
Oh, Chloe.
Chloe, when she ends up in a wheelchair, and it's like that really hits you hard, and that's what this does, because this whole town's trying to deal with the loss of him, and so is Alex, who she has been away for so long. She's finally reunited with her brother, and essentially,
and he's quality, like he's
amazing.
Like Gabe is amazing from the word go.
And on the same day, he dies, and it's like,
I don't know. I have a suggestion, or I reckon we could make this easy. This category. I don't want to, you guys carry on talking about Life is Strange, but I just want to get it out there and ask you what you think.
Yeah.
I think there's 2 games we cut, and I think most people will be happy overall.
Okay.
Given the list of 5. Before we do anything, we need to hear about Tales of Arise, but I think the cuts are Guardians of the Galaxy and Deathloop. Because I think then everyone's number 1 is in this list.
That's what I was just.
Everyone's got like a real dog in the fight.
Do you know what? I was
Everyone
thinking
feels
the same
passionately.
thing, that everyone's number 1.
They were the 2 I was going to vote
Because
for if it came to it.
There's no way I'm going to agree on Life is Strange because I haven't played it. Chris hasn't played it,
and that's the thing. It's like you're where they're going. What's Life is Strange about? And you're like, well, I just have to tell you the entire game.
No, that's it. I'm literally relying on you to essentially write a book in your head and tell me everything. And I don't know that serves anyone, even the listener, any.
So I really don't want to put a spanner in the works, but Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is probably my favourite story of the year.
Yeah, okay.
What about? And I'm sorry to say it, but what about Tales of Arise? Like, because I've played a good chunk of it, and nothing's blown me away story-wise. Like, it's a good game, but like, it's a JRPG story. I'm not seeing anything where I'm thinking, wow, this is really good. This story's great. I think some of the characters are a bit annoying, and the main dude just,
as you said, it's a
yells
JRPG.
everything. Yeah, I know Chris really, really likes it, and I really like the game, but story-wise, I don't know what is so fantastic about it, compared to lots of other games that have gone.
Okay, so
before.
I guess I'm taking this one to start with. Feel free to chip in, guys, I know you guys have played it. So, for me, Tales of Arise, so it starts off in this kind of grandiose kind of story arc around kind of 2 worlds kind of existing together, and basically an oppressive world in Renner who have come and kind of enslaved Dana. So that's the world you're kind of set in, and a lot of the first part of the story is your hero and recruiting people as he goes along in trying to kind of, I guess, overthrow that, if you like. And that's very much paint by numbers JRPG. It's even a little bit paint by numbers Tales games in the past, right? There's been various games that have had, kind of dealing with quite meaty subjects of like, oppression and things like that have existed in other Tales games. But that's kind of like, just kind of, for me, that's kind of the starting point. The things for me that elevate Tales of Arise's story is a bit similar to, I think it's what someone said it, around the characters, and they actually all have their own arcs. That is exactly what happens in Tales of Arise, but not just how you would normally expect them in this type of JRPG, where you meet one, they have their arc, then they join your party, and they're never spoken about again. That does not happen in Tales of Arise. Some characters' arcs do start off like that, but most characters' arcs will carry on and be resolved, some very, very late in the game, well after you think.
Yeah, but like Dragon Age did that like years ago. I was. That doesn't sound like an innovation.
I don't know what you mean. So, but I think it's not just very reductive in terms of when we're talking about story, though.
Well, I'm just saying, you said about what it does about like character arcs that carry on through, but like a lot of games do that. Like that doesn't sound like something that is,
but
special.
I guess the question is this one of the best 5 stories, and if so, why? That's the easiest question to ask.
That's that's kind of what I was asking. I don't mean to be blunt.
It's difficult because I don't
think it's the word blunt that it rhymes with it. I think he thinks, but
it just feels like, if I'm honest, like all the conversations around Tales of Arise that we've had have been very much like it's just a JRPG, and we're just. I feel like it's just defending. I have to defend that it's a JRPG. It's a JRPG.
I think you finished it. You reviewed it. I don't think anyone else has finished it.
I haven't finished it, no.
I love it.
Nearly there.
I will again say hey, this is my story this year. I haven't been playing many games for the story. I love the combat. I like JRPGs. I'm not going to apologise for that. but I haven't seen the things that you're. You know what I mean? The reason you're suggesting it's top 5, I haven't seen that.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way, I haven't seen it for the Forgotten City, or Life is Strange, or Deathloop. To be quite honest with you, but that's why I'm not trying to cop out and divorce myself from, because I'm 1/6 of this, but I why is it one of the best 5 stories? That's what I guess the question is.
Yeah, so
sorry, Chris.
It's difficult for me because I don't want to spoil all of the story beats, and obviously we've generalised on a lot of other things.
We're all here. We all know. We're all here. It's tough. If that's what it takes to keep it on this list, that's what this is.
The other thing that, other than the character arcs, the other thing that kind of really kind of draws the story to me is the relationship between Alpha and Shion, and it's kind of a central core that kind of evolves as the story goes on. So at the start of the game, and for most of the game, Alpha's this goody two shoes, traditional JRPG hero that thinks everything's going to be wonderful if we just all, sing Kumbaya together. And Shion's this absolute cowbag bitch that doesn't want to get involved with anybody. And you just think, okay, well, initially that's quite interesting because normally the initial male and female protagonists just get on really well, and actually quite nice that she's a bit of a moody side, but you go, okay, it's a bit of an act. What's going on here? She's clearly got something going on. But how then it progresses is you realise more of why Shion is how she is. And again, I'm really struggling to not spoil why. We'll have to talk about it in best moment. But there are very real reasons why she is how she is, why she's initially like she is to Alpha and indeed the rest of the group. But the story then also progresses in how she feels about the rest of the group. She's a Renan. She's one of the oppressive race. So naturally, all of the Danans hate her just for the race that she is, and she's been standoffish and rude to them from the start. So building those relationships between those characters, and particularly Shion and Alpha, is something that does progress quite well throughout the game. Naturally, they, again, not trying to spoil things, that love interest is a thing that does progress throughout the game, but there's also key story beats that naturally affect how Alpha and Shion can interact with each other. So at the start of the game, Alpha can't feel any pain, and I won't reveal as to why. And Shion gives off, they're called thorns. So no one can touch her. If you touch her, you get almost like, I don't know, electrocuted. Yeah. It's almost like an electric shock kind of thing. Yeah. So no one can touch her, but Alpha can, and that provides story beats as well for weapons and all other things that I won't go into. But then things change throughout the story, which mean that Alpha then can't touch Shion anymore. And that affects her and their relationship and how she feels about herself and the party and her worth in life. And then the second half of the game becomes more of a journey around how Shion finds her self-worth and how she builds friendships within the group, despite their different backgrounds. So again, I'm trying not to spoil it because it is key, but there is a lot going on in the story that's not standard JRPG fare.
I think we're at an impasse. I think everyone has said their piece on every bit of all of these games, and I think we need to basically start voting what we're cutting. I really do, because I what you've said there, I'm in your camp now. I'm for Tails. I was anyway, to be honest with you, but the host version of me is now also with you. We need to vote. There's 2 games have got to go. I'll start. I vote that we cut Deathloop. Christopher Hyde, what would you vote for?
Given what everyone has said, I think we cut Deathloop.
Adam Carroll?
Come back to me there in a second.
Okay, Chris White?
Forgotten City.
Knew that was coming. Mick Fraser?
Deathloop.
Lyle?
Deathloop.
Wow.
It doesn't matter a fuck. I don't understand.
It does a little bit. It does a little bit because we still got 2 games to cut. So what would your choice have been?
If I was to pick one, tits.
That's not on the list.
Probably the one I'd give more shit about is probably the Forgotten City of these 2. So I'd probably go Guardians. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm sorry. I don't think apology necessary. I think we now just have to vote on those 2, don't we?
and that's it.
I think so.
Lyle, I can't imagine which you're going to vote for, but you better tell me
This is a tough
anyway.
decision for
I
me.
know it's a toughie.
I'll go for Guardians of the Galaxy, I think.
Vic Fraser.
This is a tough one because I've played Guardians. I haven't played Forgotten City, so by default, I should vote against Forgotten City. But Lyle was super passionate about Forgotten City, and I feel like just to say I'll cut it is a little bit unfair to him because he hasn't fought for a lot of games.
No,
and he really does. And really, I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna vote to cut Guardians of the Galaxy just because. Just because Lyle was really into it, and I've given him some stick.
No. Chris,
I appreciate that.
Chris Hyde, what you cutting?
So this is difficult for the this is difficult
The
for the
opposite.
rest. I've only played the Forgotten City. I haven't played Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, but I've heard a lot of people say how amazing the story is in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. And when I played the Forgotten City, I was one for saying we should cut Forgotten City and Deathloop.
Forgotten City.
So I feel I've got to vote for the Forgotten City.
Adam Carroll.
Ah, for fuck's sake!
Sorry, mate. Did you think you just somehow weren't going to have to vote?
Oh, you pick one there, Ed. Will you?
Okay.
Going back to Adam last, so it doesn't have to make a difference.
I'll pick one, but it's Guardians of the Galaxy, which means if you, Chris White, you're picking Forgotten City, right?
Are you picking Guardians to cut?
I am, I'm afraid. Same reason. Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, but there's some sort of audio interference. Some sort of audio interference. No, but the thing is,
we're a democracy.
No, but if you're picking
You're all
Forgotten City,
fucking wrong.
if you're picking Forgotten City, what that
Chris
means is
wasted
that
about 5 seconds there when
Adam Carroll
says he's cutting Forgotten City.
Adam Carroll has the deciding vote.
Yeah,
He didn't
well,
want
Well,
to
he's
vote.
already said he's going to fucking... Yeah,
Okay.
The reason though, like, hang on, I played both. I
Cut
played
Life
both.
is Strange. Fuck it. Cut it.
Wow.
Get rid of it.
Such
I mean, that's just bitter.
You're a tip boob. All right?
No. I have to say that I know the Guardians thing is there. I've played both games. Forgotten City just offers something I'd be more into.
I get it. My number one doesn't count. So
No, that's just
fine.
you got it. That's right.
Oh, whatever.
No, that's fine.
Oh,
Right, I do feel though that Forgotten City's gone as far as it can go at 5.
Yeah, it's
Don't you
fine.
dare
Totally
put it further
fine.
than 5,
And I'll be honest with you, I voted for it because I am a people pleaser and I know how our Patreon feels about that game.
You're not
So-
pleased me, though.
No, but I please you in other ways, Chris, as we mentioned
I
earlier.
suppose. Yeah.
I got his bum.
Little finger
Oh,
trick.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to suggest something that I think sounds mad because I thought it was going to get cut, but it sounded to me that It Takes Two might be very high. Like, I thought it was getting cut, but like when I mentioned it, it was like it didn't. It's not been cut, and it sounds like it's.
I feel like the number one spot is between It Takes Two and Psychonauts 2. That's what I feel, based on what we've said.
I mean, I'm absolutely fine with that. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, yeah,
I'm
that's
suppressing a
just what I
smile,
think.
quite
I don't
honestly.
know.
Adam Cook's nursing the semi at those two. At the top two.
Well, I've nursed that since you lovely chaps
I
came
think
on screen,
Life
but-
is Strange kind of stays where it is. And then we judge
So,
I
around
don't
the
think
other-
My
Tales
thinking-
of Arise can go
my
below
thinking-
Life is Strange, personally. I think
No?
it's in the
Oh,
top
what?
3 for me.
Oh,
Really?
Jesus,
Two
no.
in passion
played it.
speak.
I
Two
know,
in passion of speaking. Oh, fucking up.
No, I didn't
can't
passion
even-
speeching.
Tone rage.
Speeching. Yeah. It's so
Right.
rage.
Psychonauts 2.
Speak with your button.
I
What are
think
you
Push your button.
Beaching about.
should be 1. Right?
Right.
But I also think because of how me and Adam have talked about Life is Strange, it should be 2.
But you also spoke
Why?
about It Takes Two in the same way. This
Yeah,
is
I
a
know,
really tough one. Because what I'm acutely aware of is that of all the people I thought, Psychonauts 2, I've got Chris White in my back pocket here. He'll be with me all the way. You haven't played it. And this is the first year I think it's ever happened where it's the game I was so sure you would have played. But you
no.
haven't played it. So,
But I'm still suggesting it's 1.
yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I
well.
don't think It Takes Two is number 1. I think It Takes Two kind of stays where it is.
I think...
I just can't. I can't get. I haven't. I maybe haven't. Chris is quite passionate about it, but I maybe haven't played enough of Tales of Arise.
You
to say
haven't.
that it
I
should
can
be,
confirm you haven't.
You know,
like,
and so I get it that that's why I didn't vote against it because it
Yeah.
deserves a place on the list. But I'm not sure. Should it be 4? Should that one be at 4?
Not for me, but again, I haven't
I think
played Life is Strange, so I can't.
There's been a lot of passion about all 5 of these games. So it kind of is like,
all right, let's take a different tact. Right, Chris has already said. Sorry, Chris White has already said his number 1 would be Psychonauts 2. What would yours be, Mick? What would your number 1 be here?
Of
Can
those,
I just say my number 1 wouldn't be Psychonauts.
His number 1 would be Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah,
I'm
we know.
talking as a group. I feel that should be at number 1.
Well, yeah, but
I haven't played it, so I can't say it's the best story.
Okay, fair enough.
My pick would be It Takes Two, because that's the only one on that list that I've played enough of. Well, no, I've played quite a lot of Tales, but I didn't like Tales as much.
Okay.
It Takes Two.
So okay, all right. Lyle, what would your number 1 of this list be? Bearing in mind that you can't have the Forgotten City because that's
it'd be Psychonauts 2 because Forgotten City's locked at 5. That's fine.
Okay, so that is moving up the list one way or another then. Adam Carroll, what would your number 1 of this list be?
Not being Life is Strange.
No, Life is Strange is totally a choice.
Oh, Life is Strange is mine.
Chris Hyde, what would your number 1 be? I know you love Tales of Arise, but is it your number 1?
It's my number 1 for story, but if I'm saying what I think the group number 1 should be, or what my personal number 1 should be,
well, I mean,
they're different answers.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's the group. If we can't agree as a group, we can't move on.
Yeah. So I would say, judging by the group, if I'm honest, I can't see us ever agreeing unless we put Tales to 4 and then everything else moves up.
And okay, so I'm here with this, right? This is good now so far. But can I just say one thing, right? I think the top 3 that we currently have all tackle a very similar story beat, which is really all about mental health, right? And I think that for these games to come around with the time that it is, not to get this real for a second, there is something just like, it says it all here with these 3 games landing up here. Now, I know Life is Strange when we play by myself and Chris. We've said that many times. Chris hasn't played Psychonauts 2. I have as well. I have played it. For me, I just take on, I think the concept that's within Psychonauts story is very smart. It's very well done. I think the entering of the mind and all that shit is really cool. It's really different. And it's definitely, I'm very happy it's here. It just, for me, I get taken out of it a small bit because of its overall colouredy look and like the gameplay and the platforming aspect. I just don't. That's just me. That's just my, which is why the Life is Strange thing. It's similar thing with It Takes Two, if I'm honest. That's what the Life is Strange thing is. Just that they're just humans, and I can relate to this and this way. So I'm kind of like, I personally think It Takes Two is number 3. And whatever about Psychonauts, I think It Takes Two story is really good. I don't have any problems with it. But as we have stated, it's the moments that are created, which we're getting on to in a minute, that's in there. But as that story starts, if someone says, what's it about? Bang, 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 bang. That's, like, I can tell you very quickly.
You're asking us to place Life is Strange True Colours, a game that more than half the people on the deliberations have not played, at number 2 in the best story list.
But that's just it. But look, there's this where we're going into Game of the Year and we play games, and it just so happens that this is where it's at.
How many have played Psychonauts? How many?
Well, there's at least half. 4 out of 6.
4 of us.
Okay.
Yeah, but like 2 out of 6 have played Life is Strange, and it's still beating Tales of Arise.
I know, but I have to say for the record, it definitely has more weight in its story than It Takes Two. It just does.
But as a collective, this is our God is a Geek's top 5. Surely you can't even be comfortable with a game that 2 people have played being the second best story.
It's not that I'm not comfortable, but it's just
I'm not. I'm really not comfortable saying I haven't played it, Chris hasn't played it, Lyle hasn't played it, Mick hasn't played it, but Chris and Adam have, so it's the second best game in the best story of the year. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't think it's a good story.
No, I know that.
No
but
one
if
can
I
play
didn't
everything.
Psychonauts 2 and someone like yourself went on about it as you have, I would definitely sit back and go, okay, then what it's doing and what it's achieving is obviously something very cool. Chris White hasn't played it. He wants to. And that's just what this is. This is what happens. Look, I'm just putting it out there. That's just where I'm at with it. Like, I do think, like, It Takes Two is out of those 3 in its story, the weakest. If I'm going to pick that word, it's a very strong word to use, but that's just where it is. It's like not tonight.
See, I was absolutely happy with that list as it is now, even though I disagree on 3 and 4. No, I mean I'm totally happy with that. This
is a tricky one because I do have a feeling that if the rest of us had played Life is Strange, we probably would agree because it does sound like it's a game that, I mean, those games are built on story.
Yeah,
you're saying
I can't argue with this because the only way I can argue with it is I don't want to be reductive. But it's the only argument I've got is that it sounds like another Life is Strange game.
No, but like, I think It Takes Two gets brought. It Takes Two. This sounds harsh. I feel like this game has been brought up more in its fucking ranking because of the game that it is. We will talk more about the moments of this game and what that gameplay provides. But
then, by your logic, that's fine.
Every single one of us that played It Takes Two never came back with a story beat as such. The main story concept. We came back with the moment.
I'm not against It Takes Two dropping. I am against Life is... Like, if we swapped It Takes Two and Tales of Arise, I am not against that. Like, I love It Takes Two, but I appreciate that the story is not particularly the reason you play that game, but I am not comfortable with Life is Strange going any higher. I'm just not. Because I've heard... I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I've heard nothing to make me go, no, you're right, I have to play it tomorrow. It just sounds like another Life is Strange.
But it's because we didn't even get to the main body of it.
But Tales of Arise turns JRPG tropes on its heads in a lot of ways.
But Ed, you've played all these types of games. You've played Gone Home and Edith Finch and all those kinds. Even down to, I said it a while ago, this Life is Strange's writing has the weight of nearly Naughty Dog in its delivery.
But what does it do different then? What does it do different? Why? Why is it?
This is best story. It's not about what it does differently. It does a very, very good story.
About empathy.
Fucking very. What?
From the moment that game was announced, I have had a massive problem with the fact that the whole idea of it is it's about empathy. Because I, as a human being, feel that empathy is not something you should need to tell a story about. It should be something that inherently, from the day you are born, you are taught and you learn naturally.
But there's so much of like Chris, like what I was inspired about Chris, like Jed's whole reveal. That's mental health at its fucking highest in ways, and it's how it's put out there. It's like mental.
It's not about empathy.
That's her power.
You feel 1,000 different emotions. It's not just empathy. It's everything. But I don't think we're going to win. So
okay.
So what? I don't think it's worth getting angry about. I agree with you, Mr. Carroll.
It's not my list.
But no one else is agreeing with us because no one's played it.
That's the thing. That's what I said. I think if we all had, it might be different. But as it stands, like I voted to keep Forgotten City in because Lyle was passionate about it. But Life is Strange has also made the top 5, and I can't. I think that there's 4 of us here that can't possibly
look. For me, Life is Strange is number 4. Same reason the Forgotten City is I haven't played enough of either. I would not be against It Takes Two moving down, but like I think Tales of Arise has had a bit of a doing because, like Chris said, it turns a lot of the tropes of the genre on its head. You could argue that it should do so sooner. You could argue that it takes too long to get there, but it's a JRPG. You don't play it thinking, oh well, I'll know the story within 2 minutes. It's a developing thing over 60 hours.
See what the list looks like when you swap 2 and 4.
Okay. Someone's going to have to talk because it is still an audio podcast.
Yeah, because sometimes it matters to just...
I know, to actually just look at it. Yeah.
I think Life is Strange belongs at 3 purely
sorry,
because...
I thought that's what you... Hang on, I misheard.
No, that's it. That's what I meant.
Oh.
What you've got there, how you had it.
Okay.
Life is Strange at 3, like that. Purely because the 2 guys that have played it are very passionate about it, but 4 of us haven't, so we can't possibly vote it higher than it already is. And I think Psychonauts 2. I'm still not sure where Tales of Arise sits on the list. But that's just because of my own
I think it's a very
opinion.
good game and a very good story.
Yeah, I mean that's fine, and I'm happy. I don't mind which order some of these go in. I wanted It Takes Two to make the top 5. Beyond that, I wasn't sure because like you said,
So,
I haven't
hang
played
on.
that many great
So look,
story games this year.
Are we of the opinion then, because we must move on, we must close this category down, are we of the opinion that 1, 4 and 5 on that list as it stands are right? Generally speaking, as a majority, as a group, that 1, 4 and 5 are where they are. So the question is then, as we need to vote on 2 and 3. And then it's done, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a pointless person to first start with, but Chris Hyde, Tales of Arise, or Life is Strange: True Colours?
I'm voting for 2.
Yes. What do you want as number 2?
Tales.
Adam Carroll, I think I know the answer.
Yeah.
Chris White, I know the answer also. Fair, yeah? Chris White?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mick, which one's number 2 for you?
I mean, I've only played Tales.
So go for Tales.
Yeah, it kind of has to be this time.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck it, I'm voting for Life is Strange.
I'm going to vote for Life is Strange too, though. I think the same. I think they've been passionate about it, and it's made me want to play it.
So, I'm not even going to look at the screen because I don't want to see Chris Hyde's face right now. I don't think I'll want to see it for the rest of Christmas. That's the list as I see it. How do we feel, chaps?
That's how I'd have it.
Fucking hell, that's a curveball.
Well, look, I would like to think if there was a game on this list that I hadn't played, that none of you had played, but I was like, this is the one. This is the one. It means so much to me. I'd like to think that my impassioned speech would aid the cause, and that's why.
Well, it did with me.
It did. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and you did the same with me with Life is Strange.
And
I think Tales of Arise, given that only one person has finished Tales of Arise, I think hitting number 3 is good. Chris, what do you think?
I mean, 5 minutes ago it was number 4, so yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, look.
in some instances, yeah. I just ignore the bit where it's number 2 periodically. I'll just block that out. And
I know you went very quiet. I'm locking this in. Okay.
Let's do it.
In 5th place, The Forgotten City. In 4th place, It Takes Two. In 3rd, Tales of Arise. In 2nd place, Life is Strange: True Colours. The best story this year is Psychonauts 2.
Solid.
So we move on with best moment of 2021 in a video game. Last year, The Last of Us, it just says Joel. I think that's all that needs saying. Then there was Astro's Playroom, The Last of Us' Hospital Pipe, The Village, and Yakuza, the Baby Formula side quests. This year, Christ. Right, I'm just going to read them as they're written, and then we're going to have to get brutal pretty quickly, because this is madness. So, Back 4 Blood, The Barroom Blitz. Tales of Arise opening cinematic after Calaglia. Tales of Arise, Alphen punches Dead Me? Doesn't matter.
Dead Eye.
Thank you. Tales of Arise rescuing Shion. Tales of Arise cinematic number 2. Tales of Arise the final payoff. Metroid Dread final boss reveal. Scarlet Nexus 4 become 8. Project Winter Lyle becoming Lyle. Psychonauts 2 band reunited. Forza Horizon 5 storm chasing. Forza Horizon 5 braking 300 miles per hour. Monster Hunter Stories 2 when Traverse opens up. It Takes Two, Combat on the Back of the Plane. It Takes Two, Vacuum Eyeballs. It Takes Two, Elephant. It Takes Two, Hell Tower. It Takes Two, Dungeon Homage. It Takes Two, Ice Escape. It Takes Two, Music Level. It Takes Two, Rainbow Road. Life is Strange, True Colours LARPing. Deathloop's opening. Outriders getting your first power. Death's Door, You Little Shit. Resident Evil Village, Hand Chop. Resident Evil Village, Baby in House, Beneviento. Returnal's mid-run fake ending, Halo Infinite when you dominate a match, Halo Infinite's intro, Halo Infinite mastering the grapple, unpacking the picture, unpacking the game, the Forgotten City Karen, the Forgotten City the first rule break, the Forgotten City the Golden Bow, the Forgotten City best ending, Hitman 3 Dartmoor, and Far Cry 6 post-credits.
Now breathe.
Okay.
Now cut 30 of them randomly and we'll talk about what's left.
Yeah, listen. Monster Hunter Stories 2 Monster Hunter Stories 2 when Traversal opens up.
Yeah, you can lose that.
It's cracking. It's
list.
Good fun.
It's good.
But if anything, it's when you realise how stymied by the Switch the game is, because you're like, oh my god, that looks rough.
And it's not so much a moment as it is a turning point for the game.
Yeah, the game just opens up bigger, but it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
No.
So,
Gone.
Yeah, I'm gonna shout one there, and it's one I put in. It's Hitman 3's Dartmoor. Now, this is the thing, right? I put it in there, and it's more. Is it fair to call it a moment? I don't know.
No, it's a level, isn't it?
Because it's
what moment are you talking about? Are you talking about the photograph, the murder mystery? No, that's
super good.
It is.
It's so good.
But it's best level, isn't it?
Yeah, Dartmoor's brilliant.
Yeah, I can't really pick a moment from it because the whole thing was so good.
No, I get you. I mean, I'd go for the photograph when you get him to take the photograph and kill her that way. But then there's the murder mystery thing.
I spent longer in that level than I did in most of the games.
No, it's not a moment though, is it? It's multiple moments.
So I give it a couple. I just want to give it a shout.
Is it a good idea here? Because we've got quite a few games on there that have got upwards of 2 or 3.
Yes.
Is it a good idea to talk about those as a group and maybe see if we can trim a few of them off that way?
Well, I was literally just about to say that because we're down here.
Got a lot.
Well, so the Forgotten City's got 4 here as well, and there's no way 4 moments from the Forgotten City, a game which we voted 5th best story, is going to get 4 in its top 5 if it gets any. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
There's a few on here that I'd argue for, but there's a lot on there that I'm like, there's. Is any game going to have 2 moments on the list? You know what I mean?
think so.
Get all this down to 5. So
no, I do think there's games that
I got 2 anyway that I definitely want to talk about. Deathloop opening. Can't really recall that being something I remember.
It's when you first, like when she smashes you through the roof, and I think I'm actually.
Time, you mean?
Yeah.
I think so. That's what I think so. But if I put it on the list, I can't remember. I can't actually.
That's the thing. You see, like that game. It's hard
for me, the memorable bits.
I'd cut Outriders as well.
Yeah, like Outriders is a game I just wanted to give us some props somewhere too.
Yeah.
I actually don't think getting your first power is that great because it depends on what class you're playing as. So, bye Outriders. Should we while it's the cursor's on it, Death's Door, you little shit. Does anybody else remember that, or is that just me?
I haven't played the game, so
I can't really.
It's where the witch tells you not to do something, and you keep doing it, and then you eventually come to fight her, and she just goes, "You little shit!" And I just found it so wonderfully characterful. But I think it's just when you fight her as a boss. It's when you've literally antagonized her all the way through.
Aren't you like burning paintings or something? You're doing something like that's annoying her. It might be
there you
pots.
go. I can't even remember it properly.
Yeah, that's it. And then you do it.
You're
for the
annoying
last time.
her, and you do it. Yeah, she says, "You little shit," and I just found it out of character, but full of character. But it's not.
Yeah,
it's not. That's okay.
What is Project Winter Lyle becoming Lyle?
Yeah, you don't know anything about that. That's why I think it can't be on this list. I'm afraid. So we talked about it in the previous days with Project Winter, and like Lyle became like the master criminal. It very much shaped Lyle as a personality for the rest of the
criminal
year.
or wanker.
It kind of did, yeah.
Defining
you became more than just the Lyle, if that makes sense.
But is that a moment that is intrinsic
Lyle
to the game, or is it
No.
I don't think
fun
anyone
together.
else playing Project Winter has seen this moment. So
No,
I
but
don't
also
think it's
if
necessarily
it's a group thing, like Mick just wasn't part of that thing, Adam wasn't part of that thing.
Yeah.
But it was a
I think
lovely
that's fair.
moment, and I also think that game came at the right time where no one had. It was like the first time there was finally a lull.
It's my number 1, but that's fine.
Yeah, no, I understand.
You're naming it twice.
Lyle becoming Lyle was gone.
Okay, Halo Infinite dominating a match.
That's got to go.
I get it.
I put it on there.
Yeah.
But it's got to go because it's.
I get it. It's a great moment every time, but
it's ethereal. It's my moment was this, yours was that. It's not a moment, is it? It's an idea.
Which I'd probably argue is the Master and the Grapple. Maybe
I also agree.
The Grapple itself is awesome, but
As good as it is, yeah.
Once you get good with that thing, it is unreal. But again, it's moment after moment after moment. It's not a moment. There's not a moment in the game where you're suddenly, I got it. I am the Grapple King. I'd like to keep the intro for now.
I thought you might. That's why I didn't say that.
I'd like to keep the intro for now because I think that they do this. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminded me of the beginning to Mass Effect 2. Right?
I know about that.
When the ship blows up in Mass Effect 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the start of the game.
Mass Effect.
But,
I haven't played Mass Effect, but I've seen that.
No, but they do that thing. They do that thing where the sound all drops out because you're in space, and it's that kind of hollowness, and all you can hear is like the fan-fucking-tastic orchestral sweep of the sort of themes of Halo, I guess. And the pilot says to you, you've just got one gun. What can one man do with one bullet? And the music's like going, and it's just like it's one of those things where it's like it just makes you it almost makes you shiver with like, you don't fucking know what one man can do with one bullet when that man's the chief, when he's John Halo.
You can't stick it.
Lyle, you've seen that bit. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like when it's almost throwaway, but the music's swelling. What can one man do with one bullet? And it's just like, yeah, you don't know.
What accent is that?
Where's he from?
I don't. It's Spain.
Spain.
You have to do the voice.
Yeah, but I thought about doing it, and then I bottled it halfway through, thinking, can you do that anymore? So I pulled out, as they say.
We'll be fine.
But the thing is, Chris, have you started it yet? Chris White.
Yeah.
Do you know the bit I mean?
Yeah, because he says that's enough when he says.
Yeah, that's right, and it's that voice is like, and it's the Chief's voice.
Yeah. But then he straight away picks up an assault rifle.
Yeah, he literally then the game loads and he's got an assault rifle, and you're like, well, hang on a minute.
Actually, I could do with an assault rifle.
Yeah, actually, I've got a fully loaded assault rifle and a grapple hook. But yeah, the thoughts there, mate.
Nah, it's awesome.
But it isn't any other year. But I would take every single moment from It Takes Two over that one of Halo.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not. I don't think it'd make top 5 for me as cool as a moment as it is.
I think that's what it is. It's just so badass. But
Yeah.
I'll delete it.
Yeah.
I'll delete it.
I would like to put Lyle on the spot for all the Forgotten City moments.
Okay.
'cause
Sure.
I don't think any of us have seen them.
I've seen all
Apart
of them.
from Lyle. Oh, well, okay.
It's
So
completed
Chris
it.
can back up.
So is this where Chris is going to systematically allow Lyle to speak, then cut them one by one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It certainly sounded like
Also,
it. I have.
You shit, mate. Yeah.
Okay. There's going to be a lot of spoilers for Forgotten City. Oddly
Fair
enough,
You
surprising
won't
no
get
one.
any complaints, no.
The one I would cut first would be the golden bow. At one point in the game, you get a bow that turns things into gold, and it's really cool. And it's pretty much your only weapon, unless you pick a specific option at another point. But it's a really cool moment where you get this weapon and you actually get to use it. It's cool, but of the 4, it's the weakest, so that one can go for a start.
Okay. This is easy.
But I really love the other 3, so I'm not sure what I'm going to say now.
You can cut Karen just because of the name.
Is it about a woman that goes into a cafe without a face mask?
The Karen moment.
Stop screaming, I know my rights.
Put it
Karen.
on, and she
Yeah,
refuses
say
and
my
it kicks
bit.
off.
The Karen moment was my favourite.
The
First moment I realised that this game was going to be amazing. So, the start of the game, you're
That
rescued
could have been
by
a
woman.
podcast title on another week.
Yeah.
The start of the game, you're rescued from a river from a woman called Karen, and she won't give you a name at first, and then you finally get it out of her after a bit of persuading.
Oh, hang on, I know this bit. Go on.
And she's like, "Oh well, I don't really want to reveal it." And
No.
And it's like, "Oh, it's Karen," and there's a whole laugh of like, "Oh yeah, you're you, Karen," etc. Memes, etc. But then as you go on, the reason she didn't want to reveal her name was Karen is because she is Charon, as in Charon, and it's the whole big reveal that she's like the ferryman of the damned, and that's where you ended up. And I just think the way that all sort of comes together is really, really clever.
Kind of cool.
I am getting a slight urge to play the
I'm
Forgotten
not.
City as the weeks go on. I won't ever play it, but I am getting a slight...
No, that is quite cool, but it feels
Curiosity,
again like the Halo thing, where it's like in any other year.
It pissed me off I didn't see it coming, if I'm honest with you, because I saw a lot of other of those kind of mini surprises coming.
Yeah.
And then that one, I only saw it just before they revealed it, and I was like, how have I missed that? It's literally a person
right
that
in front
ferries
of you.
people on a river
Yeah.
called Karen, and I've not spotted it. But yeah, it made me laugh when he did the whole meme thing. There's even a pandemic reference in there later on as well.
Yeah.
But
In any other year is what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally.
there's a stronger moment for Forgotten City on this list, personally. I think.
Which is it that you think's the strongest? Because I'd like you to
Don't fall for his trap, Chris.
I'm not going to.
Okay, well.
I thought the golden bow was strong, but you cut that. Never mind, eh?
Okay. I think a really cool moment is the first rule break, because it can be at any time, because...
Oh, so you mean when Yeah, okay. So I did experience that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, if you, for example, you loot a chest and you have
Exactly
broken
what I did.
morals. Yep, that's exactly what I did too.
Thought I was playing a Bethesda game.
And there's this booming voice that just goes, "The many shall suffer for the sins of the one," and all the color drains from the world, and you just start getting shot at by people, and it's mental. And I think it's really cool that it just the amount it goes to shit and how quickly it goes to shit is just like, holy fuck, what's going on here? And I think that's really cool. I think it's a really impactful part of the game. And then obviously it happens loads of times in the future, but the first time you experience it, it's just like sensory overload.
So I agree. I think though that the reason it happens multiple times, it does lose its edge. I agree that to be honest, the first time I did it, I don't know what I did. Did I kill someone?
See,
or something? I just
for me, it actually was the moment I stopped wanting to play the game because it felt like it's such a clinical fail state, as it were, and it really threw me off, and I didn't like it. I get it. It just felt like such a fail state. Like, yep, you fucked up, and I was initially like, oh shit, yeah, forgot they said that. What I do? Run. Oh, I'm back to get. Oh, here we go. And then it's like, oh, it's one of them. So for me, it's the opposite of a best moment because it was like when the game revealed itself to be another loop game, if that makes sense.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. If like
I'm just a miserable bastard, Lyle. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like the fact that once you realise that once you've got into that state, all the kind of no holds barred, then all the bets are off. So then you can just go looting everything. Like if you're going to steal from one chest, you might as well steal from everything, kill everybody,
it's all going
just
terribly,
go mental because all the stuff carries over. So you're like, right,
that I didn't know. That to me doesn't strengthen the argument. That means
no, I know. I'm just saying I had fun with that bit.
No, I didn't realise that. So that actually makes it worse for me somehow. Sorry, Lara.
Well, I mean, if it's going, and that's fine. And I do think that because it happens a lot, I can understand how that kind of lessens the impact. But at the same time, I kind of think that first time is, I thought that first time was special. That just everything.
That's what they
popping
say.
Off.
When they say that when you first pop. Yeah. So it's the ending is the one. Do we pause there maybe?
Why don't we
I
leave
think
one
so. I
on
think
for
the
a bit
ending is
longer?
decent.
We've trimmed it down to one, so why don't we
the best
leave it
ending
as
is decent considering the game as a whole. So I think it's fair to move on.
I've got one.
I've got two. So after you, Adam.
Well, I've got a few, but the one I'm gonna go for right now is one that completely took me out of the game when it happened, and I was just like, "What the fuck was that?" As was everyone else, I'd say. The hand chop in Resident Evil.
Yeah, I think that if it was funniest or shittest moment, it's definitely a moment.
It's definitely a moment.
I heard more than one or two people tell me how stupid that whole.
Mate,
we made a whole podcast around
itself. It does explain itself, but there is just I know, but like when it happens, it's
step
too
two.
much
It's the modern Fonzie jumping the shark.
Yeah,
it's
just like
too much.
What just happened there, and you cannot progress smoothly with what you just witnessed, and you're just like in your head going, "What the fuck? What the fuck just happened?" And it just threw me off for a good hour after the game. It was really weird.
Am I the only one that
messages about it?
Am I the only one that thinks both the Resident Evil Village moments go?
No way!
No.
You're fucking kidding me? Like the most generic horror trope going. They just did it again.
You are throwing out jalapeno peppers everywhere. Get away!
I think it stays for now.
Okay, well, my two cuts were going to be both the Forza Horizon 5 moments.
Oh, really?
I do like the storm chasing.
No, they're both cracking.
Amazing.
They're both cracking.
Car to hit the second one.
Well, this is the thing. They're both fantastic moments. But like again, any other year. So storm chasing.
Does anything happen at 300, or is it just like
just the
feeling? Because I've done like 270 and it's flipping intense. Yeah.
That.
I don't hear anybody jumping forward to defend them. So
no. Storm chasing is cool, but you do it more than once.
Yeah, I did think like the storm chasing, like as I said, this is the first like Forza Horizon anyway that I've invested the most time in, and like the likes of storm chasing and that breaking 300 miles per hour was all like, yeah,
It's like genuinely
Storm
cool.
chasing is it's a whole
it's
air
cracking.
punchy
But
moment.
like,
yeah.
I could easily add the moment where you are on the float thing,
Float.
and you're driving the float thing, and then suddenly you're driving it really slowly. Because my son was watching at the time; it was pre-release, and he was watching it going, "Why are you driving a really slow float like that?" And then it cuts to the next scene where it's suddenly like turbocharged, and you jump off the cliff. But like, it just again in
The
any
whole
year.
opening of that game was just
but they do
fucking excellent. It was just brilliant.
I'd argue the opening's better than these two moments, and we didn't even include it. Like Forza Horizon, don't get me wrong, is a game that tomorrow we're going to chat a lot about. But
so do you want to cut them? So I'm
do.
game for them to stay on, but like if you're going to cut them, then
I
fine.
think if we're trying to trim it down because we've got a lot to do.
we've got 25 still. After that, we still have 23.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I would cut them if you're happy to add.
Chris White, okay with that? 'Cause I know you love that game.
I'm fine with that.
The game is brilliant, no question.
Oh yeah.
Can we trim off any of the It Takes Two?
I think we can.
Fantastic bits there, but
I think we can trim it
we
the
should
Hell
get rid of a
Tower.
few.
Yeah.
Remind me of Hell Tower.
So Hell Tower in the world that's like clock towers and toys. There's like papercraft villages and stuff. There's that.
Oh, is that the pissing thing I couldn't get up?
You and Adam Carroll. But the thing is, for me, is a bit like the Lyle becoming Lyle moment. Adam Carroll actually screamed out loud in his house in Ireland while we were playing, and he was like, "That is." And I remember, didn't you say that your other half came in and or was in there already?
Yeah.
But it's. I don't think that's the best moment in the game. I mean, it's optional.
No,
for
it's
start.
not. But it was definitely one for because I was just
Yes.
so like I was standing up in the room.
Oh, we had been there a while,
screaming at the headset every time I fell, and like.
And I was just stood up the top of it, already done it. Like,
she walked into the room. She was just like, and I was just like, in my head going, everything is wrong. Everything.
No, I don't think I've seen you sing in videos where you're shouting.
Yeah.
Like where it's an anger is part of the emotion of the vocal.
Yeah.
And yet that moment was the first moment I would say that I have seen you properly. Well, I didn't even see you, but I was like,
I forgot I was even on a headset and everything. I was just
that's the other
like,
thing. I was like, I am glad he is that many miles away in Ireland because I think I'd be going through the window right now.
But yeah, it can definitely go.
Yeah,
but it's,
I'm glad
it's
we
optional.
talked about it.
I'm glad I gave up because it sounds like I'd have done the same thing. So I'm glad
What about the ice escape?
What's ice escape?
So at the end of the snow level, when you're rushing through the ice and you're sort of intertwining with one another and jumping over, and then you end up in the little.
Oh yeah, that's
it's a really cool moment. But I think they do chases. There's a fair few chases in this
There's
game.
definitely a couple of them like it, but like ice, it just looks really nice.
Oh, it's a
and stuff,
fantastic moment, but it isn't.
And compared to some of the others,
exactly that.
Of It Takes Two, I think that one.
I also think maybe the Hoover, because even though that's awesome at the time, like it is a very quick thing that happens, and it's and then I think there's more.
I don't know. That is proper dark.
It's really dark.
The thing is when Chris White and I previewed it, when we played the first up to the end of the squirrel level, when you get to Rose's room, that's where the preview build cut off. Because I remember that could almost be a moment in a weird way because Chris and I were both like, oh, fucking hell. Yeah. How long are we going to have to... Because we really were enjoying it. It's probably the most I've ever enjoyed a preview build of anything.
Yes.
And I didn't even spot the fact that... Because we were chatting away in preview, I didn't even think about what you were doing. Like, the whole coolness of the game was so fresh with me. It's like, and like the boss... That's the first boss fight as well, so it's kind of difficult because you're not used to that... requiring that much skill. And then when I saw it the second time, I think it was with Chris Hyde, and I was like, fucking hell.
I remember saying to you,
I think you said it. You're like, he's taking his fucking eyes
Jesus
out.
Christ, just looking at his eyeballs. That's fucking dark. I was
it's sort of the first moment in the game where it just gets dark and it's kind of like
it sets its stall out a little bit. You think you know what you're getting into.
But I feel it's similar to another moment on that list that actually just fucking stayed with me in weird ways.
Listen, the thing is all I'm going to say is this, and we can do with this what we want. Last year we had 3 moments from The Last of Us.
Yeah, but you all wanked yourself silly over that game last year. So.
And I'm afraid you're going to be in for another session, mate, by the sounds of it. Because
No, because I really like It Takes Two, but I don't...
I think the elephant moment is. I mean, seriously, that is. I remember
that is the
that
moment
is incredible.
That's the moment I'm talking about. That moment, still at this point, I can hear the poor fucking thing squealing. I've never seen
horrendously
anything
dark.
that is so fucking sadistic.
Yeah,
In
I
my
think
life.
it's brilliant, but for that
I
reason.
played Manhunt and shit back in the day, and
this is far worse.
through that than that elephant moment. That was just fucking the poor fucking thing is. I don't want to die. There's like
What I will say,
kill you. They're not going to do it humanely.
But the voice work for that, by the way, is. I mean, it's magic. That voice work is absolutely magic. Like, I don't want to die. It's absolutely
to
gold.
the point where when they dropped it off they drop it off a table in the
it's off the cupboard.
I thought. I was so thankful that that's how it ended because I thought, what are they going to fucking do next?
Just leave it there, bleeding.
Its leg off, its ear off. I'm so glad it couldn't bleed little fucking puffs of fluff. Or something,
but we can't. This is really brutal because I don't know if I even need to invoke Mr. White this early on, but that fucking fight on the back of the plane.
That's the best moment.
That is the closest I've ever come to being one of those like screaming YouTubers at a preview event because I was like, this is unbelievable.
It was stupid, but it was so unexpected.
I was so jealous that you were the one on the back of the plane and I was flying it. I was so jealous of that. Like just looking at it again, oh my god, there's Street Fighter in this game. Like
I know we've all all these moments will hit differently with all of us, but for me, that is the best moment of this game. I think the elephant also deserves to be there. And if I'm going to pick one more, it has to be the Diablo bit.
Yeah, that's
me because I just thought it was genius. It completely flips out.
I don't know how they pulled some of it off.
I just remember. Do you remember? I think at the time, Chris, we both were like, "Can you imagine when Mick sees this?" Because when it sort of zooms out and you're like, "Wait, what?" And then you realise that's the level, and you're like, "This is another tier. This is like another level of."
Yeah.
It just kept doing it. It kept going. It kept raising the bar constantly.
I think what makes this so brutal is, and look, I think we're going to be on the same boat. Like, It Takes Two is a game that I think it's the first game probably on this pod really that has this many moments of like, holy shit. Like,
it's a game of
how
moments.
do you cut this? Yeah. How do you cut this out of?
You could almost make this a top 10 and just have five of them be It
hang
Takes
on,
Two, and then
hang
talk
on.
about the other games.
I think I have a solution here. Even if, hypothetically, 5 moments, all from It Takes Two won, right? Even if they were all the top 5, and there probably won't be, but hypothetically, if they were, we would still have to cut 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start by cutting 2 of them, and we can come back like we did with the Forgotten City. And I think the Vacuum Eyeballs probably...
Is this only a 3?
5.
What's a
5?
5?
But there's 7 for It Takes Two currently.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So
Vacuum Eyeballs can go.
Vacuum Eyeballs, I think, can go compared to the other
to the other moments, yeah.
Music level. What are we talking about specifically?
Just saying.
Sorry, what was that, Chris? Hang on.
I was saying if you cut one now, you've got 5 on It Takes Two. So just
but I'm saying hypothetically that's the most you could have.
Yeah, no, but you were saying let's get down to 5. So I
thought we had 7 moments. Did we already cut one?
We've got 6.
Okay, well.
I think you can cut.
Well, hang on. Lyle mentioned the music level.
Lyle mentioned,
and that is more of a. That is a
rather than a mode.
It's basically one of the levels, one of the 7-ish.
It's a bit like the Dartmoor conversation, isn't it?
I mean, we can solve this. Someone tell me their favourite bit of the music level, and if it's the same as mine, then fair enough. But it won't be, will it? Because I can tell you what my favourite bit of that level is. So someone tell me what their favourite bit of that level is.
I'm going to just say, with regarding the music level, I think I was just, once again, it's not really a moment. It's more a design choice that I think everything you go at the music, I know that was probably, it was aimed to be achieved, but like, it blew my mind that every drum you jumped on was the drum. Yeah. Every guitar string you hit was that string. And that's nuts. They could have just done a thing where
you wouldn't have noticed it either.
Jump on the strings and it'll play an overall chord. But like it's like individually all there to be played with. This game is like a toy box. It's weird.
I think you've proven that actually has to be cut, because I would have offered up 2 different moments. One would be the kind of near the end of it when you're going back through surfing through the sort of neon cylinder. I would have also offered up the bass the sort of sub bass section where the music's like.
Oh yeah.
But that's 3 different. That has to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Tales of Arise's turn.
Rainbow
1, 2, 3,
Road,
4.
I don't think about.
So Rainbow Road we could probably cut here, actually, as it was a late edition, and it would be we'd get the list down. But it's basically the bit where it becomes Mario Kart's Rainbow Road, and he goes, "It's what does he say?" Lyle, you played it recently, so
he does. He says it's a me, and then whatever his name is.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah.
It's a me, Cody.
I don't know. I think like it. I could probably part ways with it to a degree, but like when that game has delivered so much up to that point, and then you're all of a sudden just fucking doing Rainbow Road, my brain could not handle it.
No, it's
just like, this is just ridiculous.
Well, are we cutting
I'm pretty
the
sure
eyeballs
at
then?
that point I went, fuck off.
You
Like,
did, yeah, you
I
did.
was
You
just
literally
like,
went
no
fuck
way.
off. In a good way.
Yeah, in a good way, in a really good way.
So are we
I think
cutting vacuum eyeballs then?
Vacuum eyeballs then for now, because that leaves us still with 4 to talk about.
Sure.
Well, look, the simplest thing is, if we don't cut another one of It Takes Two, we are then admitting that the top 5 best moments are all from It Takes Two.
I don't think we're going to agree with that
I'd be cutting
eventually.
vacuum eyeballs personally.
Yeah, I think we have got a lot of stuff to talk about here still.
Yeah.
So
Before we do go towards Tales of Arise, I've totally lost the list here. Sorry. Psychonauts 2 Band Reunited. That game is the opposite of It Takes Two for me, whereas it's not about moments; it's about the long haul.
Yeah.
Which is why it won Best Story. I don't think of that as a specifically, I love Psychonauts 2, but for me, it's like I say, it's not about moments; it's about the whole. So I would propose that as an easy cut.
I agree. It's cool, but it's not going to win this list.
No. Okay, go on.
Can we? I've got another cut for you before we move on to Tales. Far Cry 6.
Okay.
So, does anyone know what this is?
Nope.
No.
Right. So the reason it doesn't make the list is because it's just a black screen and it's just dialogue. But basically, after the game ends, credits roll, you hear Juan Cortez, who is like one of the guerrillas, like one of the older guys. You know who he is because you've played some of it. So he's talking to someone who's simply called Smuggler. And the smuggler is talking about, it's sad about the death of Anton Castillo. Maybe we could strike up some deal for trade or whatnot. But its voice is Michael Mando, who is the voice of Voss.
Oh, okay. That's kind of cool.
Basically acknowledging Voss's existence. And
so it's basically, do you remember that game you all loved?
Yeah.
This isn't. Who's also going to be DLC later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that's really cool, though. I
Does
like
that
that.
make it a prequel then? Because Voss pretty clearly
Must
gets
be.
his head blown off in.
I think what
Far Cry 3.
Ubisoft has said is it's an alternate reality to that game.
Oh,
so it won't
see,
be
that's
that
actually a shame.
The Marvel cop out.
I actually
But it
think
was
that's a
just-
shame. If they'd have gone,
but
no,
it
it
was-
was a prequel, that would have been
It's
kind of cooler.
Ubisoft going, I really wish we hadn't blown his fucking head off in that.
Yeah, we could
Because
use him
he's
again.
the only thing everyone loves.
Yes, yeah.
But we are cutting it then, yeah?
Yeah. It was just a really cool moment.
Quick, cut Forgotten City while Lyle's not in it.
If you're not watching, you don't know he's vanished for a minute.
He won't remember.
I don't. Fucking hell, I'm going to be so hated by certain people of this podcast now. But listen, we got 4 moments from It Takes Two. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is that Tales of Arise or 5? My eyes are playing up 5. There's other moments we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
Scarlet Nexus is not making a top 5 this year. Not in this list, is it? It's just not.
I'm just waiting for a buzz.
No.
It's just not. It's not. And I love that game. It's so cool it exists, but it's just not.
If It Takes Two didn't exist, then it would 100% make the list.
It would have a chance.
Because it's so amazing when it happens.
Yeah.
Because you're like, they can literally not throw anything more at me. Like I can already do so much within the first few hours. And then you get a bit further and they're like, well, you had 4 separate powers, have 8. And just switch between them as much as you want. There's no limit. You can go from telekinesis to pyrokinesis to fucking whatever the names are. Just it's insane. And that's one tiny element of the overall gameplay. So when they do go, right, you can now use 8 of your friends' abilities to connect to your SAS thing, and just have at it. Have fun. Go on. You know, take all these enemies out with all these abilities. So I think the giving you of the 8 powers is you're like, oh great, but it's not a particular moment. It's then from then on throughout the rest of the game, you've got these 8 abilities which just constantly make the game better and improves it when they throw other stuff at you. I think it's not just the 8 abilities from 4; it's the other stuff they had as well. It's like we've talked about the gameplay. It's just perfection for me. But I think it's not essentially a moment.
No, I mean, I put it on this list, and I agree with everything you said. The other thing that I would just add, I think it's getting cut, by the way, but I think you go through a lot of that game thinking, and it was in the demo as well, have I picked the right 4 abilities that I'm going to like?
Yeah, that's fair.
And up just before you get the 8, there's lots of things I can't get through there. And I bet if I had the other guys, if I'd gone the other story, I'd be able to get through there. And you feel like, ugh. And then it just goes, no, don't worry. This is all part of the design. You've now got everybody. So now you can do what you like, and you've not missed out on characters and skits and stuff. So I think that's the other element to it that makes it clever. And then to your point, Chris, it's just a continuation of the building of the combat ideas and everything else, which is what that game's about. But you're right. It's
not this year.
It's not this year, but it definitely deserves a mention.
We need to talk about Tales of Arise, but before we do, I think I have one further really, really easy cut, and I think it's a logical reason to cut it that no one will be able to disagree with. Back 4 Blood's Barroom Blitz is completely dependent on if we all got the same song.
See, I got Ace of Spades by Motorhead, which in that moment was just like fucking hell. And I tell you what, up to that point, I was enjoying the game anyway. I did really like the game, but I was playing it with 3 strangers, one of whom was she was fucking hilarious. She was just a random that I joined the game with, and we went into that bit, and you hit the jukebox, and a song came on, and I thought, this is fucking. Just amazing.
Can I just say, I also think it goes on a bit too long.
Yes.
That's the only downside to that point, is you go, I've got to do it like 3 or 4 times.
And it's also frustrating that the fucking zombies keep smashing the jukebox and you have to go and fix it, which is just a pain in the ass. But
when it starts, you're like...
Oh, definitely.
In that moment when it begins, absolutely deserves.
It feels like it epitomizes everything awesome about that game. You're just like, I'm fucking up for this now.
Yeah, it's just nuts.
I've said a lot of shit about that game on these podcasts, but I think that moment is great. Even I think that that's a great moment. Like,
but it deserves. You can cut it.
It's got to go. Chris,
and like you said, it's dependent on the song. If you get a song you don't know.
Well, I don't think there's any you wouldn't know, but I do think it's what we were all talking about, a moment that's slight variance. It's not,
Yeah, it's not the same moment, I guess, if you've got different songs, I suppose.
Yeah. No, just before we get into the big Tales of Arise things, I do think it's just good to get this out of the way now quickly as well, in a way. Chris, the Life is Strange moment, okay? The LARPing moment, where do you think it's worth fighting for? It's very difficult when you're looking at
I don't think so. I think, it's because it's... Are you talking about one particular moment within that section, or are you just talking about the whole thing?
I'm talking, I think this is on par. It's not on par in a sense, but it does the same kind of thing as It Takes Two Diablo thing. Yeah. So I just want to say that straight off, it's so you got the character of Alex, the main character, and you got Ethan, the kid. Ethan is like this young just kid who draws comics, and it's all fantasy based and all that kind of stuff. There's a moment that rolls on within the story, but they all decide in the town to do this relive or just live through his comic, and the whole town decides to do this LARPing day. And you got the bar, you got the record store, the flower shop, all the characters, they all dress up as the wizard or the dragon or the goblin and all this kind of stuff. And you and this kid have to go and find these three gemstones. So it's pulling out all the standard fantasy tropes, whatever. But you go off and Alex, the main character, has a guitar on her back, and she's like, you're going through the whole town. It's all open for you now to discover. And as you progress through to find these 3 gemstones, you start meeting the other characters of the town, but they're the enemies. And the game turns into a kind of an RPG,
JRPG,
turn-based thing, and you have all these options of like attack, threaten, bribe, all this kind of stuff, and it's all like your life is out of 10, and you hit and you get 3 damage and all this kind of stuff. It does all this like mad stuff, and it's so like that is just like a thing where you're like, what the fuck, like it just blew my mind because it's a huge chapter, and it's all so well done, because when you go into each like record store or whatever and the Steph is there, they really go for the whole acting the part, and it's so heartwarming and just executed like incredibly well. It's not challenging whatsoever, but like you gotta admit, Chris, like the very last the boss fight, it gets really like epic in its whole like visual aesthetic and stuff, and I was kind of like
Dark Souls.
Fucking hell, I was like, this is not what I expected whatsoever.
But it does sound like a large moment as well, like a really
long
one.
Like I think it's brilliant, but again, like the music level, it's a whole section.
Yeah, it is definitely.
But it's
amazing.
It's completely unexpected, but fantastic. But it is a level. Wow, it's this whole section. Yeah, so cut.
We're cutting it.
Okay. Yeah. We've got to address the Tales of Arise now. We have to. We've addressed every other game.
No one's going to jump in. No,
we have to address Tales of Arise.
Yeah, cool. So I'll go in order. I suppose they're actually in kind of chronological order. So the first one I put is the opening cinematic after Claglia. So this is when you've just beaten Ballsack, and basically then the walls come crashing down, and basically the rest of the game's opening up. You're going on your quest, and the intro cinematic that you can actually watch at the start of the game if you just leave the game on plays up. Yeah. I mean, it's probably one of the weaker ones on here, but I felt like it was a really good sort of like kind of in the way that the combat and the music within the combat G's you up. Like I felt like the cinematic and the music alongside that really G'd you up for the adventure. Like, right, we're fucking have this now. But it's not going to compete with.
I wonder which moment you were talking about.
If I'm honest,
nor me. I would.
Oh my dear God!
I wasn't sure which cinematic you were talking about. I thought maybe there was like a second time at Glaglia and it opens up again. No, that is not for me. Sorry, Chris.
No. That's right. No, I don't disagree.
No, you did say it was the weakest one.
Yeah. So this one is a bit further in the game. This was more of a. This is probably a bit of like a you little shit type moment, if I'm honest. Okay. So this bit further on in the story, and Alphen's having this conversation with this, frankly, Deadeye, this arsehole who's kind of taken control of this town. And he's a Danon, and obviously already said that Shion's a Renan, and so's Dolium that's in your party, and they all hate Renans because of the oppression of the last 300 years. So they're really kind of standoffish against all Renans. And Alphen goes, no, they're my friends. And that's symbolic. It's the first time he's ever called Shion a friend. But then Deadeye goes, oh, yeah, I bet she's more than just a friend, which is interesting considering where the story goes. And normally in those sort of JRPGs, the lead guy gets angry or gets held back or whatever. But Alphen literally just grabs the guy by the throat and punches him in the face, which is it's humorous to me because the whole good boy kind of trope that normally goes to RPGs, and it's probably the only moment he's not a nice kind of guy. It was just a bit of a kind of unexpected thing, but it's more humorous and unexpected than the best moment of the year. But it just made me smile, and it's something I remember.
So are you cutting that one?
That's when I'm thinking we do cut. I'm looking at the others on this list of tales.
We're nearly down to 10 here.
Fight for, yeah.
All right.
So the next one, I can try not to be spoilery, but I'm going to have to. So I kind of mentioned this a bit in Best Story. Throughout the start of the game, Shion has her thorns, and Alphen can touch Shion because he doesn't feel pain, and that's how they start their kind of adventure. As you progress through the story, Alphen suddenly finds himself being able to feel pain again, and so that means that he can't touch Shion anymore. And there's this really emotional moment where I know it sounds really gropey and it's not meant to be at all. You've got to imagine there's this girl that has
I played it. I just the way you said it.
Yeah, no one's ever been able to kind of physically touch her or be in her personal space throughout her entire life. And then the one person that has kind of he gets surprised because he doesn't realize that he can feel pain. It literally happens in the moment. He goes to touch her and he gets the thorn, the electric shock, and he looks really surprised and he recoils.
And then he doesn't stop and he does it again because he wants to touch her. Am I guessing right or wrong?
No, so then
like Homer Simpson with the power line.
No, it's not. No,
not quite.
Or with the rakes in the face. No. So then Shion gets captured and they go and rescue her. And this moment is all about when they rescue Shion from who she's been captured by. And she basically, because of what's happened, she's like, I'm going to be alone forever now because the one person that could actually be close to me now can't. And I was finally getting somewhere. I was on an adventure. These people were going to help me cure my thorns, and now they can't because this person that was going to help me he now feel pain. So she's just there and she's thinking, I'm going to be alone forever. I'm just going to be stuck with these thorns forever. The one thing that I've been trying to cure myself over all my life. And then Alfred does do the thing that you're implying, where he kind of grabs. She's surrounded by these massive thorns, and then he kind of pulls his way through the pain to get to her to rescue her, to kind of get her back from the guy that's kidnapped her. So it's quite a powerful moment. I'm not doing it just in terms of the cinematic and the animation of it, but it's very much pivotal to the story in terms of Shion thinking she's going to be alone forever, and actually Alfred fighting through that.
Mm.
So that for me is a really key moment in the story. It's difficult because I don't know if any of you got to that point. I don't know, but I wouldn't want to cut that one yet.
The question really is, how badly do you want Tales of Arise to be in this list? Do you want to spoil? Because I'm guessing cinematic number 2 is named as such because it's spoilery. And the final
payoff is spoilery as well, although I'd probably rather get rid of the final payoff. So it's in terms of if I want to cut one of the last 3 that I've got there.
I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying that nobody here can go with you on the journey for these because we haven't experienced them.
Yeah.
And I'm gutted, if I'm honest with you, because I love this game. It's just so long, and so much has happened this year, and I have not had the time.
I mean, I guess it does. I guess if we're going to say that, if I'm the only one that's even seen any of these, and looking at the rest of this list, a few of us have seen Metroid Dread. Most of us have seen It Takes Two. Most of us have seen Resident Evil. Maybe some others cut, but there's still more than 5 there that all of us have at least experienced. I don't want to cut these because I fucking love them.
No.
There's some that I probably take over some of the It Takes Two moments. I think some of the It Takes Two moments are very strong.
We still have to cut
it's
7
difficult
of these.
when it's a group. It really is, and it pains me to say it because I think some of these are why the story I believe is so strong because of these moments.
I believe if I had experienced that Shion moment you've just discussed, I would probably feel the same way and think that's I predicted it, if you know what I mean. I literally did it on this podcast just now, predicted what that scene would be. It's still cool. But whether we can have a list of 3 things that only you have seen in the top 5.
Oh, and I'm saying that.
And the question is, do you want to spoil Cinematic 2 and the final payoff? I just don't think it's going to make a difference. And I'm sort of thinking in terms of the listenership, is that it's a long game. It's totally your call. Like, I know Adam hasn't finished it and wants to. I think Lyle's playing it and would like to finish it. I think of all of us, in fact.
I guess it comes back to my original point. If the argument of I'm literally the only one that's seen them is going to end up trumping things, and therefore they're going to get cut eventually, there is no point in spoiling and for the sake of ultimately cutting them. I don't want to be reductive, but if that's going to be the argument, I understand it because it's a group top 5, and there's a lot more that people have played that are strong on this list, and therefore there's no point in me spoiling them because they're just going to get cut. I don't mean to sound standoffish, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, there's no point in ruining for the viewers who want to play it, or even us, you guys that want to play it, if they're going to come off.
No, but we're here and we understand it, and that's just tough sometimes.
Absolutely.
That is just tough shit sometimes.
I mean, look, this is your chance. If you want to fight for them, then you should fight for them. That's what they're doing here, right? I mean, if you want to do that, Chris.
My feeling is there's 4 moments in It Takes Two that we haven't been comfortable cutting yet, and everyone in this room has played It Takes Two, and I think that is going to... I think like last year we had 3 moments from a game, and I think I'm comfortable with 3 moments from a game. I'm not uncomfortable with 4, but I think we should have more than just a list of it takes 2 moments.
I do as well. I agree completely.
But I do think there's at
would
least
chop
2,
that down
if
to
not.
2, but-
Well, I don't agree with 2. I don't agree with 2. I think this is bad for the listeners or viewers, but number 5, 6, and 7, I think are all best moments of this year. Number 8, I love, but I don't feel comfortable with a list of 5 containing 4 from one game. But with that in mind, there's just no way. I don't think there's any argument that Chris Hyde could make about 2 moments no one else has seen that would trump those 4.
That's the trouble. What I'm thinking,
takes
if
twos.
it comes to a vote, it's not going to.
No.
It's not going to win.
Now, if you really want to, if you genuinely think I can change your mind and get these on the list, that's totally what this podcast is for.
So, I mean, from my perspective, I think there's I don't think the final payoff is going to make this list.
So then we may as well cut that now rather than you spoil it for us and the listeners if you don't think it's
exactly
going to make the list.
that.
Right, gone. Do we pause at Tales of Rise there?
Like, if we could, and if we could go back to some of the games.
Because
Returnal.
Well, hang on. Before, because I agree. But before you say that, the reason I'm sort of trying to be like, well, so we've got 4 of this. And this is, I'm pretty sure that everyone on this list thinks the Metroid Dread reveal's on the list. Unless I'm wrong. Okay.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so, well, the 4 people that have played it, I think, would have it on the 5, right? Am I wrong? If I'm wrong, cool.
No, because like Ed, here's the thing, right? This is bad. No, but this is just because of the year and just time in general that my brain just does not focus. I can't really remember.
Okay, but when I tell you what it is, you'll be like, "Oh shit!"
Remind me what reveal?
Shall we? Let's put a pin in that one then, and let's go back to Returnal for now.
Because like I remember the boss. I'm just like I'm so foggy.
So while we're talking about Returnal, think about who the boss is, who it turns out that boss is, and try and remember that. And who
Mario.
mentioned? Oh, yeah, it's Mario. So Returnal mid-run fake ending. Who's seen it? Hands up if you've seen it.
Well, this is the problem. See, out of the list of 30 odd things, this is the only one I put on there, and it is.
Welcome to my world, Mick.
It's so fucking clever. Like, it's such a moment that when I was playing, even taking into account It Takes Two, that bit in Returnal, the whole of 2021 is the one moment where I've gone, holy shit. Like it was an absolute holy shit.
What is it? What?
So, you know, the whole premise of Returnal is when she dies, she wakes up in the ship.
Yeah.
She dies, she wakes up in the ship. She keeps finding dead bodies of herself everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And these are genuinely Celine's that have gone before and died, and she's so, and that starts messing with her mind. Well, at a certain point, quite a few hours in, quite a few runs in, you beat Returnal, right? I thought, I've beat it. Because I was playing it pre-release, so I hadn't seen that there was more to the game. I didn't know. So I beat the boss, and you call in rescue, which is what you're trying to do for the first half of the game. You're trying to call in people to come and get you. And you're trying to get to the top of this tower so you can send a signal, they come and get you. You fight your way up, you beat the boss, Celine sends the signal, right? Her company come in, pick her up. Then you play out the rest of her life. You sit there and you watch the rest of her life happen. She goes home, she's a hero, she's had this crazy adventure, she gets married, she has kids, she has this house, she lives her entire life. You see her get married and do all this stuff. And then you see her as an old woman and she dies and they're laying her in the coffin. And at that moment, she wakes up back on the planet because she's died now. It never stopped. Like the loop never stopped.
It's cool.
And it's so clever because I was just like, that point where her eyes close on her deathbed and then she opens them again and gasps awake and she's like back where she was. And it's like, you like that. She made it out. Like you that moment where you've done it. She's made it. Like this impossible situation. She's free. She's lived a life. But then when she dies, it fucking takes her back and puts her right back in the
is one of the
again.
issues with that yes, it's a cool moment, but it's a cool moment that I think everyone on this podcast played that game and never got to.
Oh, do you know what though? Like I've not played the end of Metroid, but that sounds amazing.
That's so.
I don't disagree, but like again,
as a moment, it's. I mean, if we're talking about best moments, like the best moments of 2021 in games,
but only you played it, and we're talking about cutting tails ones because only Chris played it. Like, this is.
Can I just not to go all around the place here, which we kind of are in a sense, but Ed, can I just go back to Metroid for a second? This is why I'm getting foggy out here, right? Is this final boss or final boss? Which is not really a boss.
Final boss. It's the conversation before the final boss.
So if you really do not want spoilers for Metroid Dread, skip 90 seconds of this podcast. Chris Hyde, explain, please, to Adam what this moment is.
You find out who Samus's parents are.
Okay. All right, yeah. But see, the final
and where she comes from and how she's then developed into what she has. So it's like her origin story in about 5 minutes.
It's like not 20, 30 years? 40?
35.
35 years of disappeared story. Bang, there you go, have it. But crazily, by the way, not even developed by Nintendo.
Because it's where I was getting confused was with the very last thing being the big parasite.
No. Sorry.
That's
the reveal of who the boss is.
Okay.
Like it's 35 years of lore. Finally, it's as big as finding out she's a woman. Do you know what I mean? If not bigger, perhaps.
For sure. Yeah. I definitely would be with you on that one. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's crazy. Like I am not as big of a fan of Metroid as Chris Hyde, and yet I remember playing it and being like, "Whoa." Because there's, even there's even enough story in the game to lead you to that point, if that makes sense, where you're like, "What is? Oh my god!" Like
it's just it's casual as well. What I love about it as well is it's not just like
she's not known this her whole life.
Yeah,
and it's just like, by the way.
Okay, so we gotta make.
Well, we haven't talked about Resident Evil Village's last moment now. We haven't talked about Unpacking the Picture, which has snuck in here. Because Mr. Lyles kept very quiet.
It's done all right, hasn't it?
It's done all right, but we have talked about that moment elsewhere, and I mentioned how I didn't like it and how it broke the game for me. Because it felt like it was suddenly the game telling me what I should do, and when it felt like a game about freedom and creativity, and then it reveals it's someone else's story, not yours, which is fine, and it doesn't mean I suddenly like, well, this game fucking shit, it's all about me. But it was like, it was one thing, then it became another, and I didn't like it was clever. It's a clever moment in a game that is it's cool, but like it.
Yeah. See, for
again,
me,
any other year, man.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to make it, obviously, but I think for me it was the moment where that game changed from it's a game about just this person moving house, unpacking. You see the items, like there's a little bit of storytelling of like this one's been damaged, this one you've kept this DVD, etc. This was the moment where it sort of goes, this is a story. This is a thing where you can.
There's more here than you thought there was, sort of thing.
Yeah, you get to see someone's.
I just don't
life,
think it's.
Yeah, I mean, it was the moment I fell in love with the game, and it was the moment where I saw that picture on the board and it was flashing, and that moment. So it's basically to explain, I guess, to kind of spoil. But, that's the category.
That's what we're doing here.
You have like a cork board. The character you're playing as, whose house you're unpacking, has a cork board that has like photographs of them with their friends and family and pets and stuff like that on. And that's where, and when you unpack the photos, that's where you're putting them. And if you've put that photo up on there's one photo on the cork board that. Once you've put it up there and finished the level, it says this isn't the right place to put it. And it's a photo of your character, and this man that she was obviously seeing, which was the last house you unpacked. And the house you're moving into then is your childhood home. So it's like it's supposed to symbolise, you've broken up. This is like, a bad breakup. This photo is not what you really want to be seeing every day. It's a photo of you and your ex being happy. So the place you can put it is like into a cupboard and just shut it away, and then you beat the level. And it's just like, that's this moment where it shows, yeah, this game is telling this story in a really unique way. It was the moment I fell in love with the game. It was the moment where I realized it was more than it could have been, and I thought it was really clever. But it's very personal to me. I kind of think a lot of this game is very personal to me because I moved house this year and it was really stressful. And specifically, you, Adam, not liking it kind of means.
Well, the thing is, it didn't finish the level for me because I had another thing flashing red as well. So it was like it didn't have the impact of the one thing in the wrong place.
It was that's my one thing.
You see, that's what bothered me. If it was just the one thing and everything else I could put wherever I wanted, that to me is much more impactful because it's like, look, you fucking unpack what you want, but that thing is an emotional thing. It must go away. When another thing was flashed, and I'm like, oh, okay, you've taken some of the emotional weight away by the fact that it wasn't this, but that bin's also in the wrong room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, if that had happened to me, I don't think it would have resonated as much either, and I totally agree. And yeah, I think it should be cut, but really great moment.
We've only got 5 to go. Resident Evil Village, Baby in House Beneviento. That's not been talked about.
Yeah. I think it's a top 5 for me. You can say what you want with the horror tropes, all that stuff. This is easily for me the best moment of the entire
Which
game.
moment are you talking about?
The fucking
whole thing. The whole thing.
The fucking thing.
No, the baby thing where you have to run away from it and go and hide under the bed.
But the baby appears loads of times. It keeps chasing you. It's not just that bit. It comes back several times. There's several bits in that house where the baby does that. You have to go to the lift.
So the moment where you open base, you're going out the door and it comes through the fucking lighting and it's like dark shadows and you're hiding and running and it's just wailing at you and stuff. And all that to me was It was so scary and so disturbing because when it happens, you do nothing but turn around and run. But then in your head, you're going, what the hell was that? And what did I just see? It was really
it's so slow. It didn't frighten me.
Man, you don't know any of this. You don't know any of this.
Okay, I did. I don't know what I did differently, but I felt like it was like yet another example of Resident Evil shitting the bed and not knowing what it is. Because 1 minute it's about Lady Dimitrescu, and now suddenly there's this weird psychological horror going on with all these babies. Like,
that's going on about the game, the whole game in general. That's a different.
No, but what I'm saying is it didn't have that impact for me because I'm like, what is this game? What are you going for? Everything? Are you just going to throw everything horror at the wall and hopefully someone will go?
There was nothing. There was nothing in it that scared me in Village, but this.
I would say the bit where you're crawling through the darkness at the beginning without a weapon is scarier, but horses and horses.
Yeah, okay,
that's so dark.
The bit when I'm under the bed and it comes in the room, I'm like, "Are you going to look under the bed?"
But it didn't. You must have known it wasn't going to, because what else was there you could have done in that moment? Really? Because for me, there was nothing. But. So you're saying they give you a 50-50 chance of insta-death?
I don't know, mate. I don't know if I got the wrong thing. The fact is that thing breaks through the door and it's making this bloody freakiest baby sound.
And it's designed so horrendously, like, rotten.
I must be dead inside because I just thought it was, oh, look, now they're trying to do Silent Hill.
I don't know. I'm kind of with you. I've hidden under the bed from monsters in about 100
in a lot of games.
Before.
I mean, you want to play scary, play Outlast 2.
But
that
this
game's
is the
terrifying.
thing. Like, I know, I can totally agree with that. Like, this moment in this game was out of place in ways, but this game has a lot of that kind of shit going on.
So why is it a best moment of the year, though? I mean, like,
it really fucking scared me. It really got under my skin, and nothing's like, I don't watch movies and get scared anymore. It's always video games, and it's like that thing. I didn't know what to do. Like at that, I end up discovering.
I wonder if we had different things because I found that incredibly lame. If I'm honest, I'm a scaredy cat, but I found it really obvious. It was like you have to turn around, run away, and I'd already been in the room with the bedroom and noticed you could go under it. It was like, well, you just go under the bed, and I did. And so it walked around the bed, went out the other door, and I just went the other way. And then they would keep using that trick over and over again. The baby keeps cornering you.
I thought the entire area was just its lighting and stuff. I couldn't.
It looks great.
Really see where you're going.
No, definitely.
I couldn't see where I was going. I was just running in a pack because I wasn't able to.
If we did like best use of lighting, maybe Resi would be in with the list there because like some of the HDR and stuff with the lighting in Resi is terrific. But listen.
But I didn't spend enough time to look at that thing and go, oh, it's moving that slow because it's constantly just roaring, crying or something. So I was just all on like just edge completely. But look, if
no,
it's
I mean,
not a
if
thing, then okay,
Chris
but
Hyde
fuck
seems to
it.
like it, so
I like it as well.
Chris White likes it, so okay. If it's one of the best 5 of the year, it's one of the best 5 of the year. But we do need to cut 5, so let's talk about what we're cutting. I hate to say this because it feels like I'm picking on Lyle, but the Forgotten City, we haven't talked about it. Only Chris Hyde's finished it. I don't think he's going to back you, but what do we want to do here? Because we've got to cut 5 of these.
I'll happily talk about it. I'll try and defend it. I don't know how successful I'll be, but I'll give it a go.
Well, I couldn't defend one of the absolute fucking best moments of the year. So
But it's still in there. Returnal's still in there.
yeah, for now.
Well, Chris White said he loved the sound of it.
Before Lyle talks about Forgotten City, unless both Chris's are going to defend Resi to that point, I am willing to part ways to get this list going.
I'm not trying to be a dick or anything and be brutal about it, but we have got to cut 5 moments. So
it's just like this is literally going to become an It Takes Two Tales of Arise.
Well, then let's cut something from It Takes Two if that's what people want. But we can't all just go, let's cut something else. Oh, I want to keep that. We have. It doesn't work. They have to lose 5 moments.
That's what I'm saying. Before Chris's, if you're both on the camp of Resi should be there, then
the thing is, mate, I wouldn't cut it because if it was my list, I would not cut it because I really liked it. I've not played Forgotten City, so I would cut that. I've not played Metroid, but I would cut that. But that's me because I haven't played it and I don't give a shit about Metroid. Returnal, I would absolutely keep that because that sounds fucking brilliant for the sense of the story. And I want to go back and play it now.
Same, I reinstalled it a few weeks ago. To be honest,
that is what I would do. I would keep the It Takes 2 point, 3 of them at least, throw Resi in, throw Returnal in. That's my list. Done. But that's not, we're agreed, aren't we? So.
Okay. So, where are we going? Look, Rainbow Road, It Takes Two. I know, Lyle, sorry, no, I don't mean to be cutting over you with your Forgotten City stuff. I'm actually doing you a favour here by trying to cut other things.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Rainbow Road, It Takes Two. We already said it. It's fucking quality when it happens. I lost my mind. It's amazing. But look, It Takes Two has to get a couple of cuts, I suppose.
It does. Why? That's the question I would ask. Why?
Well,
you literally, you just said it was like. Think about what you just said about that moment, which is probably the weakest of the 4.
Hang on now. 1, 2, 3. Fucking put all 4 of them in. I'm game. I'm down for it.
No, I'm just saying. I think probably of those 4, Rainbow Road is the weaker of the 4. Yeah. Probably, but also it's the fucking definition of one of those moments. Like Chris Hyde said, like. I literally went, fuck off. Like, you couldn't fucking believe what you were seeing.
Yeah, for me, it's a better moment than the Dungeon Homage one, just because of my affinity to the game we're
your
talking
moment
about.
There of when you went, fuck off, that Dungeon Homage, when me and Chris White played that.
Yeah, exactly.
And no one else, and what you got to remember as well is when we were in that moment, nobody else could even play it. We were pre-release, and we could not. But I would say all 4 of those are literally moments where you're like, I can't believe... This game shouldn't exist. That's what I keep coming back to in my head is this game shouldn't exist. And if it does, it should be some indie game that we're ranting and raving about, but no other fucker's heard of. It certainly shouldn't be published by EA. It just shouldn't exist. And like, someone's going to have to almost take it out of my hands and say, right, I'm cutting this, I'm cutting that. Because, like Adam's saying he would cutting Rainbow Road there, but he's cutting it by saying, it's just fucking amazing and I couldn't believe it. It was like,
but I know, but I'm with what Chris Hyde said there about it being like his moment over the Diablo moment. It's like, I probably would agree with you there, Chris. But the thing about it is, when the dungeon moment happens, I think when I was playing it, I was like, do you know what? If this, like, considering like Minecraft Dungeons exists, right?
Yeah.
In terms of that kind of like, it's a bogged down version of Diablo. This is fucking pretty good. Like, do you know, if they release this as a kind of a full game, you could probably be enjoying it. Like, that's what was mental about it. Like, but the Rainbow Road thing was just like, oh my god, like amazing. Like, but look, this is where we're at, lads. I don't know. Like, Mick has a massive thing for Returnal. I understand, and I totally would probably be on the same boat as you. But I need to play that fucking game and not get annoyed. That's my thing. Like, I need to not rage. So, and like Chris, Tales of Arise, you're the only man. You're the only man here with us.
And this is where...
And it feels like we're picking on you, but like, Adam, I don't want to speak for you, but I know damn well you love that game, right? It's just a long game, you haven't had time.
100%.
And
Arise is the best Tales game in fucking years.
And I don't want to speak about tomorrow, but it's in my top 10, I'll say that much. I just haven't finished it yet, but that's how fucking good it is that I haven't even finished it and it's in my top 10. But this is not Game of the Year, it's Best Moment.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to put a cut up. Someone's going to have to just suggest a cut. Because everyone I'm suggesting, no one agrees with. So someone else is going to have to suggest them.
The Forgotten City needs to go. I've played it and I know what he's talking about, and I just feel I'll let you do your bit, Lyle, but I do think it's got to go.
But then,
I just think it should go. I don't mind not talking about the best ending. It's really good. And Forgotten City got in Best Story, and you know what? I'm totally okay with that. If you've played it and you don't want to back me, I'm like we're in such a lock right now.
You'd rather not spoil.
I think it's a nice kind of. It's a nice ending given the journey that you've been on.
Definitely.
And you know, there's things you have to do to get to that ending, and I think it's a nice thing for you as a player to experience what you experience, given the conversations and the things you've learned about the characters you've gone through your journey. I think it does that really nicely.
Yeah.
And it gives you a nice warm feeling inside. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But that's it. Like, I don't think it's the best moment of the year for me.
It's not going to make it into this top 5 where we can't cut any It Takes Two moments. So,
we can.
Yeah,
I'm open to it, but we can't be cutting them going, oh, it's so amazing, it's fucking brilliant. Totally. We can't be cutting a moment that and it's like when Adam said that, it wasn't like everyone else was going, oh yeah, but come on, we're all sat there. I don't know if Mick is, but I think the rest of us,
Rainbow Road,
right? But the rest of us are all sat here going, yeah, he's right, it's really good. Really good.
Yeah.
So that to me seems like cutting it because we feel we shouldn't have 4 in there, and I'm not saying we should. I'm not saying we should, but it's up to us.
5 and 6 I'd cling to from It Takes Two. Not as much. I haven't seen the Rainbow Road bit, but the number 5, the elephant specifically, just was, and only because. Not even because of what you do, not even because of the gameplay itself in that moment, but just because of what you're doing and how fucking dark it suddenly is and how it sticks with you. And as I said, the dungeon homage for the same reason as you said, because of what it becomes, and it's so unexpected. And
with that bit, I feel like in a room, I can't, this is not what would have happened, but I almost imagine Joseph Fares and his team pitching bits of this game to EA, and EA going, get this man out of the building immediately. Like,
how many games is he making?
He's making 100 games at once.
All the
He's
games
going to bankrupt us. Get this man, get security. You know, under the desk, hammering a red button to get him like fall through the floor. Like, it's.
I feel like he just said a yes day for his planning meeting. It's just like yes. It's in the game. EA.
I have had one of those things with it take. No, I'll save this for tomorrow. But someone.
Look, I can't. I really don't want to fucking cut Returnal, man. It's like, and for whatever else on this list, like I said, I don't much care about Metroid lore and stuff because
you haven't played that one.
And I haven't played Dread, and I'm not a big fan of Metroid anyway. Obviously, Tales of Arise, I haven't got to those moments.
But I would say with Metroid, though, just sorry to interrupt, but I would say with Metroid, I wouldn't have called myself this big kind of like, oh, I'm up on the Metroid lore. I'd say of the Nintendo franchises, that's probably not that I don't know anything or don't play them, but that would be my, not ignorance, but I would know less about Metroid than Mario. And yet when I played it, even I was like, oh, this is a big deal. And not just because of... There's more to it than the actual story on the moment. Like, it's a big deal for me that Nintendo allowed a third party to do that with their canon. Like the fact that although Nintendo they had a part in the game, but it was developed by Mercury Steam. Like the fact they allowed that, like probably the biggest narrative beat in one of their first party games in generations, I would say. Would it not be?
Which makes me kind of like it annoys me that I didn't click straight away what you were talking about, but like
it's been a tough year, mate, to be fair.
It's just where that's just fucking
been a tough year.
Brain, you know. Sometimes you'd be like, oh yeah, that was massive when when it came around. Look,
like it's rare when I'm reviewing
a
game, because it's part of the job, is that you are one of few people playing, like with Halo. It's rare. It is not a rare thing, sorry, but the job is you're playing a game no one else is, or very few people are. I don't speak to many other media, so like it's rare that in having done the job as long as I've done it, that I have a moment where I'm like,
yeah,
just because of how big it is. Metroid Dread's one of them.
Can I suggest something here, right? Just to kind of like go, right, this is what we have left. Can we all agree that number 4 and 5 are definite locks?
I can agree with that.
I can agree that 5 definitely is. 4's my weakest on It Takes Two.
Wow.
Really?
But if everyone else really loves that moment, I also very much don't mind it being in.
I think I fucking think it's like it's a lock. Jesus Christ!
If everyone else agrees, that's fine. I don't mind at all.
When I played it with Adam and I was on top of the plane and I was fucking losing my mind. I was like, I am just playing this thing and it's just glorious. It's a moment that I won't forget.
Yeah,
and that's what this is.
Yeah,
it just is. And like 4 and 5, 5 is an absolute lock. No matter what way you think of it or whatever, it was fucking crazy.
I think I'm going to bold that one now because I'm not hearing a single soul say otherwise.
Yeah.
But like to be honest, I'm game at any other It Takes Two. I don't care how many go in there, but I'm there for it.
Should we bring the other ones back in and just make it?
I'm just fucking there for it. But like, Mick, I think what you say about Returnal is very fucking strong, man. And like, it is one of those things, as I said, that like, I am going to go back to that game. And I am going to probably...
I just think, like, I can sympathise to a point that a lot... Like, I said to Adam, and I've said it a lot to Adam because of some of the games that I generally tend to review for God Is a Geek.
Can I predict what you're going to say here?
If I hadn't had to review it...
If I hadn't had to review it, I would... Yeah.
So, but because I was reviewing it pre-release, there's nobody I could talk to. There were no guides. So we just... I mean, Adam gets the brunt of it every time I review it.
I enjoy it. It's fun for me.
He just gets email after email of me going, this fucking game, fuck this shit. And then a minute later, I get an email, a message saying, did it.
Yep. No, it's always, without fail, I'll be looking at it and go, I'm not replying to that because then done it. Cool.
Yeah, yep. Every time.
No need for me to reply it. I mean, there's nothing I can do anyway, but like I was just looking at it and go, no point, done it. And straight away.
So I do vent, like I live vent my rage when I do any kind of Souls game or roguelike or anything like that. So I did that with it. And Returnal, I think I rage quit Returnal around 11 times through the time I was playing it. But that moment, crucially, I didn't know I hadn't fucking beaten the game. Like, I didn't know I hadn't completed it. And
it sounds really cool. Like it really does sound cool.
And I do know there's people out there that also played it blind. And I know there's other reviewers that may have had the same experience. But I was like, well, I've done it. I've only done, 2 was? I'd say I've beaten this easy. And not easy. It took me a long time to get there. But but it's not just that. It's not just it's not just what I felt.
It's kind of ballsy, actually, for an indie dev as well.
Carry on, yeah. It was actually the point that, story-wise, this poor fucking woman cannot escape this place. Like, she got out. Like, she's out. She's away. She's free. It's like a moment, and I can't think what film I'm trying to connect it to in my mind, but it's like, it's almost like
it's Groundhog
she thinks
Day.
She's out of the Matrix, but she's fucking... It's like the bit at the end of Inception where the fucking thing's spinning and you don't know if it's going to wobble and fall.
Yeah.
Like, he thinks he's out, but is he? He's probably not. And it's like that. It's like, I want to leave it in as long as I possibly can. If it eventually gets bumped for a 4th It Takes Two...
Look,
it's difficult because it's pretty impassioned speech.
I'm coming back again with this. Chris's, I'm going to fucking say a cut because I have no other battles for this. The Resi thing, are we keeping it or what? Just tell me, you need to speak strongly about this moment if you really want it, because I've given my piece.
I think we cut it.
Okay.
Right. I think the It Takes Two moments are all certainly worth keeping in. Me personally, I would possibly cut the Rainbow Road bit. Not that it's bad, but
No, you don't
there
need
are.
to.
I would say the passion around Returnal, like it's and it's made me want to go back and check it out.
Absolutely the same.
Like people can talk about their best moments, but I'm not. No offense, but some of them like, well, yeah, okay, I'll probably not play that, but yeah, great.
No,
Whereas
I'm with you.
I think
100%.
it sounds amazing. Like that is a really smart idea.
Yeah.
Really smart idea, and I think Returnal shouldn't go. So, and like I don't care about Metroid, but I understand its importance in games, and especially with this mysterious character. As you say, 35 years is kind of a big deal. So
Yeah, it's huge. It is definitely.
I feel personally, and I know Tales of like I want to finish Tales of Arise, and I feel like if I had, I would agree with Chris here because it's incredible. But I haven't seen it.
I will say as well, I've knocked Tales a bit over the course of these deliberations because
we noticed,
but not in. But that moment that, as Chris described it, again, that sounds like something that I want to get to in the game. Like when that happens, it sounds like an important because those characters, whatever you think about them, they're integral to the story, and that the whole concept of them, it reminded me of like Rogue and Wolverine. You know, it's like that sort of. I don't know. It's like fucking Lady Hawk. It's like a fucking romance for the ages almost. You know what I mean? She can't touch anybody without causing them agony. He can't feel out. It's really clever setup, and that moment sounds very good. So I don't want to knock that.
But
this is a hard list.
Chris Hyde, are you saying?
Yeah, we'll just go back to Resi.
I think we have to cut Resi because like Mick's almost wanted me to play Returnal again, almost. With what he said, it's interesting that I think Tales of Arise Cinematic 2 needs to come off this list, and it's interesting though because a lot of what that it does with Returnal is what that Cinematic 2 actually does. It's a similar thing where you think you finished the game and it just goes, no, you haven't. You've got an entire second half of the game that you didn't even know existed as you've now got to do, and you know it's a new cinematic that it does. I don't think it quite lands to the point where if I had played Returnal and thought I'd finished that fucking game after dying 1,000,001 times to that fucking game, and it went, oh no, you still up, I'd be like, I'd have fucking broke something. So
incidentally, it does that again a second time. When you actually finish the game, you can't get the real ending without playing the whole fucking thing again.
So I do feel like I really like that. There's loads of reasons why I like the second cinematic. I feel like I'd just be spoiling so much and it wouldn't land with anybody.
Well, look, even with Resi and the second cinematic gone, we still have 2 to cut.
Fuck.
So here's where I'm going to jump ahead here now and just say this. Unless Chris Hyde, you go for it full belt. What I'm saying is we cut Rainbow Road. We lock in the rest of the It Takes Two ones, along with Returnal and Metroid. Is that correct?
No, you'd have if you lost
Rainbow Road, can we lock in the rest of It Takes Two and Returnal and Metroid? And is that a 5?
Yeah,
right.
It would be a 5.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. Unless Chris, you say no, that Tales of Arise moment is fucking staying, and go away with it. Because the only thing I'll say is that like that Metroid thing, as much as I didn't remember it there and then, it is massive. It is massive for that franchise.
So obviously in my top 5 it's there. I'd have I wouldn't have Returnal, but like I get that. I get what you're saying, Mick. I honestly do, even though I didn't resonate with that game when I played it. It frustrated me more than I enjoyed it. I can totally get why that's a moment. Like I say, I've already said like Dungeon Homage versus Rainbow Road. That's a personal thing, but I don't mind Rainbow Road going because I get it.
Well, are we cutting that bit now? Then are we cutting Rainbow Road now?
I think Road's going to go. It's a few times.
Yeah, it's gone.
Cut.
Right. One more.
I think the point here is, for me, and I don't like saying it because I know where it's going to end up. I think everyone here is saying 2 to 5 are a lock, right? Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. And it's between Returnal and Tales.
And I think then the point becomes, like, in terms of only one person has played both of those points.
Yeah.
But I feel like, personally, reading the room, that more people want to experience number 6 than want to experience number 1.
I mean, I'd like to experience both of them.
Democracy.
Yeah, I want.
Oh yeah, I know that. I'm not saying it's either or. I'm saying if you had to pick one gun to your head, because we've got to get rid of one, right?
Well, we kind of do. We literally.
I would only say on one. The only final argument I would make is that I reviewed Returnal. When did that game come out? Beginning of April.
Yes, ish.
The beginning. So like 8 months ago. 12 months of, and you know, I've played a lot of games. I've reviewed 70 odd games again this year. I've played probably 100 and something. That's the moment from everything, including the It Takes Two. That's the moment that if you put a gun to my head and said, "Give me the best moment of 2021," that's the one. That was just because of what that game is and how it handles that. That's it. I mean, I
look,
and I'm sure if you guys had seen it, we wouldn't even be discussing it. I'm sure it would just have been on the 5.
So we're cutting tails.
I mean, we're cutting tails, or we're cutting a moment from It Takes Two, or Metroid Dread's final reveal. I mean, it's as simple as that.
I mean, Metroid Dread, you guys were quite passionate about, and I think that's important.
Well, Mick, I didn't fucking remember it.
Yeah,
that.
Well, Adam specifically was quite.
But like when you get reminded and you know the legacy and the longevity of that franchise, for anyone that is probably a Metroid fucking fanatic, like I consider myself a very, very big fan of Metroid. Do you know, a story is just, it's so thin at times, and take that, like fans be like, fuck you, but to me it just is. I play for the gameplay. It's unreal to play. But that reveal is huge. It is gigantic. Like,
I mean, look, so... I'm happy if you lock 2 to 5 and then we just vote on 1 and 6. And if Returnal gets booted, it's made it to 6, and we've spoken about it a lot. I've done my bit. People know about it. I think Chris will say the same about Tales if that ends up getting booted. It's just the way it is.
I think that's the only way
6
forward.
6 games to 5 spots. I think if we don't do it fairly, like we have,
I think Metroid's not going anywhere. I think we're either cutting an It Takes Two moment, or it's Tales or Returnal.
I mean, for me, like I said, the combat, the bit with the squirrel, not as much as the other two for me, but.
I can't believe that. What were you fighting or were you flying? Because you played with your kids.
Flying, yeah.
I was going to say I was flying as well.
There
that's the other thing. So I'm like a bit like on that one, but I get it.
It's still a.
Yeah. Not. Sorry, to be really clear, I'm not like I don't think it's.
No, I'm not knocking it. No, great.
No, I'm just like in terms of things I remember personally playing. I'm like the elephant, and I remember the dungeon bit. The plane, I remember it existing, but I was too busy wondering where it's going. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's going to be difficult to cut any of the It Takes Two because we've all got quite a lot of love. For
let's ask the question. I've got to be Mr. Host now, right? Chris Hyde, are all 3 moments from It Takes Two in this list of 5? Yes or no? Simple answer: yes or no.
Why have you come to me first?
All right, Adam Carroll. Are they all 3?
Yes.
Takes. Yes. Okay. Chris White.
Yes.
Mick?
No.
Chris Hyde?
No.
You're fuckers.
Well, it's a yes for me, 100%. Like I find it
Lyle
unfathomable those 3.
As well,
yeah, Lyle's just nipped to the loo. I think he'll be back in a second for those watching.
It Takes Two is, I think, it's the only one he really would argue about anyway.
Oh, so hang on. So Chris, so you're saying you would cut one of those moments and keep the rest of them? You'd keep Returnal ahead of, I don't know, combat on the back of the plane?
Yeah, but kind of selfishly because I want Tales of Arise.
Because you want Tales of Arise, but that's not a
see how
group
this list is
decision.
going.
No,
That's not a group decision.
If I had to lose a game off that list, it'd be Tales because that's me being honest. I
Do you know I was with you on Returnal until you said one thing, and that was that it happens again later. And that was
no,
me,
not
like...
the same. It's different.
Okay.
It's a different situation.
Okay, right, okay.
The game ends, but then the new game plus mode has a different ending.
Okay, sorry,
so...
I thought you were saying that it actually happened.
No, it doesn't do it a second
okay.
time. It's just that if you want the true ending, you play the new game plus mode.
I think, look, we could talk around the houses on this all day. I think ultimately we've got to cut Tales of Arise.
I think we've got to vote. I think we've got to vote.
Yeah, I think we've got to vote, Chris. I'd love to just agree with you. Yeah,
because I don't know that,
but I think fairly we've got to be fair. We've done this all the way through.
We are going to vote then for whether we cut Tales of Arise or whether we cut Returnal. I will start. Will I start? Returnal. We cut Returnal. Sorry, Mick. You know I love you, man, and I love that game actually, but
it's fair. No, it is
Chris Hyde.
I'm not no animosity.
Well, I know what you. Yeah, sorry, I don't. Just say it for the record. You're in court. Adam Carroll, do you cut Tales or do you cut Returnal?
I really adore Tales, but I have to say the psychological concept behind Returnal's situation. I'm going for that. I'm in cutting Tales.
Nick, I know your answer, obviously, but just so that's 2 for 2 all. Chris White,
Tales.
You cut Tales. Yeah.
Hey, Lyle.
Yeah.
Lyle.
I was gonna say Tales.
It's done then. That's it. Done. Thank you. Returnal's 5th. Same logic we've used the whole week of deliberations.
Yeah, when we voted out.
Elephant's won, right?
Surely.
I think Elephant won.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think for me personally, I think Combat in the Back of the Plane is 2.
I think that's it.
I agree.
I think Adam's done it. I think that's right.
That's where I'd be going, yeah.
And then Dungeon Homage, then Metroid Story Reveal, Boss Reveal Thingy, and Returnal mid-run fake ending.
I'd swap 3 and 4, but I think I'm going to get outvoted. So.
I'd have swapped 2 and 3, but once again, probably outvoted.
Now we're arguing over which
moment.
As long as
5 are where they are, you can. Yeah. The number 1 has to be number 1.
Yeah. Do we? So it does sound like. Well, Adam, Metroid Dread or Metroid Dread Story Reveal or the Dungeon Homage at 3.
It'll have to be It Takes Two. The way it is the way.
Chris, you said the other way round. Yeah. I think. Yeah, that Dungeon Homage. Chris Hyde. Sorry, Chris White.
That list as you've done it should be it.
Okay, Mick.
No, I'd swap 2 and 3, but there's not much in it. Not really. You know, I'm happy with that.
And Lyle?
I'd keep Metroid at 4, definitely.
I think we're there. Are we there?
Jesus, we're there.
5th place, Returnal's mid-run fake ending is the 5th best moment. 4th place, Metroid Dread's sort of final boss story reveal. Number 3 is It Takes Two's Dungeon Homage. Number 2 is It Takes Two's Combat on the Back of the Plane. And the best moment of the year is It Takes Two's Elephant Scene.
Never has there been a game like It Takes Two with its fucking moments.
Compare the top 3 there, and they're all a bit like, are they all from the same
off
game?
The wall.
We're going to talk about It Takes Two a lot.
Yep, don't say what you were about to say.
I'm not going to say anything else. But
don't say anything else.
Wow.
It's not unheard. I mean, like, listen, last year, like I say, Last of Us had 3 in there.
Yeah, but this was like, look at what we had to take out of It Takes Two, and even if we think of what was taken out, I'm in my head going,
I don't think it's any surprise that we're fans of that game. I think did it win somewhere else as well? It won Best Multiplayer. It got second for its best visuals, best audio.
It was in Best New Character.
Yeah, it didn't win that though, I don't think.
No, but it was in there.
Oh, it did. Yeah, Dr. Hakeem got 5th. Yeah.
It's been in everything except Biggest Disappointment.
But also, it was one of the earliest games out this year, so you know, and we all played it. that is day 4 for the books. Day 5 tomorrow is, the big one. It is the top 10 games of 2021. I can reveal right now that, I can reveal right now, unless that something changes. It's currently a list of 33. So there we go. Thank you to Chris, Adam, Mick, and Lyle for being here for day 4, and they'll be here tomorrow as well. What outfits will we wear? What drinks will we have? The only way you're going to find out is if you come back right here for day 5, and we will see you then, or whenever you choose to listen. Bye-bye for now.